boys are going to bring the heat today.
As the leader of the Booner pack, I lead from the front.
All right, boys. Lock in.
It's our core foundation, man. Grit.
I'm fired up. I'm fired the fuck up, boys.
It's pumping right now. It's got my juices pumping, boys.
Welcome to Crunch Time Sports with Jeff, Booner, and Lukas. It is Wednesday, April 23rd. We are a day away from the NFL draft. And Kerby Joseph just signed a massive deal, which we'll get into. We also have a ton of draft stuff to get into, rumors to get into. Fellas, I mean, the next couple of days are going to be insane. And I can't wait.
Oh.
I almost want to let
What a bad start to the show today. I'll tell you what. Unbelievable news from the Detroit Lions with Kerby. So, like, I'm just juiced up. That's all this is. This has nothing to do with me being muted. We're technically right now, boys. I don't know if you guys just saw the clock. It's 8:01. 60 seconds ago, it was 8 o'clock. We were 24 hours away from the NFL draft starting, which is thrilling, absolutely thrilling. And we just got some good Kerby Joseph news while I was on my way home today. So, yeah, hey, it's a beautiful day, boys. I'm pumped up for a show. We have a pretty packed show, to be honest, very packed show. There's a lot to talk about as we get closer and closer to the draft. So,
you know, we got a great show. Thank God we got Kerby locked up. We saw pre-draft last year, same type of thing. They got more done as far as the contracts that were signed, but we've been talking about it, talked with Doc, waiting for this Kerby contract to be signed. So thank God he got it done right now, and he's able to be a Lion for a long time. Kerby's going to be fucking great for this team.
Well, the contract's official, and he got his money. There you go. Ian Rappaport put it out. The Detroit Lions and All-Pro safety, Kerby Joseph, have reached an agreement to make him the highest-paid safety in the NFL. 4-year deal, $86 million, making him the highest-paid safety with an average of $21.5 million per year. So it is we talked about it with Doc. We've been talking about the last couple of weeks how you just kind of knew that an extension was coming soon, maybe even during draft week, and you got your answer. It was during draft week, day before the NFL draft. Last year, 3 deals got done, Amon-Ra, Penei, and Jared Goff. This year, you get Kerby done, and that's probably the only deal I think they'll get done this week. I mean, Aiden Hutchinson's coming down the pipeline. They're probably going to get his deal done in the future. But Kerby Joseph gets locked up. And this, to me, fellas, is great news. It's a player that you obviously have to pay and keep because the value of having someone in the NFL that can get you the amount of takeaways that Kerby Joseph can get you, you extend those guys. Especially that's what the Lions hang their hat on defense. He's a culture player. He's been a part of this organization. I mean, he was homegrown. He was drafted by Brad Holmes, and he's been productive every single year. He's coming off a all-pro year. And if he does this for the rest of his career, you expect him to do it for most of his career. He's going to rack up all pros. He's going to rack up Pro Bowls. And that, to me, when it's all said and done with his production through this short couple of years, he would be on track. I mean, you'd put him up there to nominate for Hall of Fame, especially if the Lions win a Super Bowl. Like, you don't find guys that can get takeaways at the rate he does. Those guys you get gold jackets. So you had to get done.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of kudos to Brad for just the biggest thing about all this, and I see some people, it's like I wouldn't say half and half online on social media about this, but I just think seeing like Brad has drafted all of these guys in the first few rounds, right? Like the first 100 picks, essentially. He's gotten guys like Kerby, and he paid Aleem this last season, and Aiden Hutchinson is going to get paid, and like I can just keep going and going and going with the guys that he's drafted and then turned into big deals and big extensions. It's kind of just like, hey, the homegrown Detroit Lions, boys. And you got to find a way. I think that's why like we're less than 24 hours now out of the NFL draft and seeing these contracts come in. And it was the same thing to me last year when you saw the Jared Goff extension go through. Who else got extended? Amon-Ra St. Brown, Penei Sewell. Once you saw those contracts come through, you start thinking, this is a lot of money, and you're going to have to draft well. And I think it's the same thing this week. It's okay. Kerby's a lot of money. Next year, Brian Branch is on the docket, and you're going to have to start paying some people, some more people, and you're going to have to start bringing guys in through the draft again. And this whole cycle starts over, and it starts tomorrow, Friday, Saturday. Hey, first off, too, congrats to Kerby. That's like an unbelievable deal to get the highest paid player at your position. Like that, for a player to do that, that means you're an absolute dog to get that done. And the fact that the Lions, over the last 2 years, have had multiple players kind of break that market and become the highest paid player at that position, whether it's for a year, a month, or a week. That's still awesome. Shout out to Lewis, his agent, that got that done. It's a big time deal. I'm pumped up.
Yeah, Kerby, he needed to become a Lion for life because you can see with this defense, one, he's a leader of it, but two, Jeff, to your point, his first 3 years in the NFL have been all of fame, like 4 interceptions, 9 interception leads the league. But what the Lions are trying to do defensively, you're not going to find another Kerby Joseph because the Lions love playing aggressive. They love playing man defense. And when you have a safety in Kerby Joseph who can understand the perspective of a wide receiver, because when he got to Illinois, he was a wide receiver. Didn't mean he to be drafted there, but they're like, hey, this guy, he can see the field well. Let's move him to safety. When he goes there, he plays 1 year and instantly balls. So he really only had 1 year of production in college, and you could see that the game is just slowing down more and more. Now, this doesn't mean that he's going to give you 9 interceptions every year, but for the next 4 to 5 years, however long Kerby Joseph is going to be signed, you're going to get somebody that is going to be getting better and better and better and seeing the field more and more and more. He's going to start being a player that quarterbacks just say, hey, we're not going to throw in his direction. So that's when you have Terrion Arnold. When he starts getting in year 2, 3, 4, 5, he's going to be a position where he's in a spot to make plays because they're not saying, hey, we're going to just be targeting Terrion Arnold, but we're not throwing near Kerby Joseph because we've already seen what he can do. That dude's an all-pro. Like, if you're asking everybody going into the season next year, who do you think you're going to lead the NFL interceptions? I would imagine most people, especially in Detroit, would say Kerby Joseph is going to be up there once again. I don't know if that's going to happen, but he has that potential, and there's not many players like that in the NFL. And once he gets better in tackling, because there is lapses you can see with Kerby Joseph where it's like, Kerby, what the hell was that in the open field? But they're becoming more minimal. And I think once he gets that final stage, because Kerby will come up and hit people, but he's an undersized safety when it comes to weight. That's why when you see the Tyler Higbees, the TJ Hawkinson, he's going low on those guys because he's a little bit underweight, but you can see each year in the open field, he's coming up and making tackles better and better. So Kerby, I can't wait to see the start that he truly develops to, because I don't think we've really even see the him scratching the surface. We've seen the 9 interception. That's great. But as far as being an all around safety, Kerby Joseph things to prove. And I think he'll do that. It's not saying like, hey, you got to step up. Like, no, he's just going to show that he's going to be a more well-developed safety.
I think the most interesting part of all of this comes back to next year. They have to pay Brian Branch, and you just paid Kerby Joseph $21 million. Are you going to pay Brian Branch the same amount? Like, how is that going to all work out? I don't know if Brian gets a cheaper deal. I don't know how it's going to work out. The money situation with all of that's interesting.
So I want to address this because to me, I feel like I have to keep saying this, and I think most people should just already understand this. Lions Troll, I keep seeing overpaid on the tweeter. I don't agree. He's a fucking dog. Well, good thing you don't agree, because people get obsessed with players. Okay. When guys are up for contracts, a lot of people like to dictate someone's value. It's not all about, and by the way, Kerby is an incredible player, but sometimes, and I say this, it's not always who's the best. It's who's next. That's what happens. Doesn't mean mid safety will get the highest paid, but if you're a really good safety, you're going to be the highest paid safety. And I will say this. That's why I'm not surprised by it. I'm not going to even comment on the money. It's just, you had to pay him. You have to make him the highest paid safety. You just have to. It's how it works. Now, to comment on Brian Branch, I think Brian, rightfully so, will say, I want to be the highest paid safety. And he has you can't argue it. He has
to be a different number next year, Jeff.
It'll
be a higher number next year.
And he should ask for that. And I think it's going to be difficult to do it. Now, could you substitute it and maybe choose not to pay other players? Potentially, but look around the NFL, man. There's not teams that have 2 of the highest paid safeties. It's just unrealistic. Yeah. Now, you in a ideal world, it's like, well, maybe Branch will take less. No, he won't, and he shouldn't. And he shouldn't. He's incredible, and you can even argue he's probably a more well-rounded safety than Kerby. Kirby's excellent at what he does, but Branch is kind of he's a complete safety. He does a lot of things really well. Defends the run. He can cover, take takeaways, force fumbles, tackle for losses. He can do it all. But it's not like it's like if you're Brad Holmes, you can't look at this thing and go, well, Kerby Joseph's up. We need to pay him, but let's just not pay him or let's trade him. Brad didn't have. I mean, he had a choice, but you really don't. You have to pay this dude. You have to pay Kerby. You have to give him what he's asking, and the cap's going up. It would be easier, and I'm just going to say this, and I don't mean this as like a shot. It would obviously be easier if you had a quarterback and a rookie deal. Obviously, because then you can pay.
Yeah, for any team, that's like
exactly. That's just an obvious
given.
point.
That's a given.
But the reality is, you don't. So you're gonna have to. You're paying Goff. You're gonna have to let some of these guys go. It's just the reality, and it's not as easy as being like, well, just don't re-sign J-Mo, because Hutch is probably going to be a top 2, maybe even he's the highest paid. But let's say he's just behind Myles Garrett. He's going to get close to 40. You have guys coming down like Sam Laporta. He's going to want, highest paid tight end, rightfully so. He's an excellent tight end. And then you have Brian Branch, Jameson Williams, which they'll address when they get to that. But still, there's a handful of guys. Jahmyr Gibbs down the pipeline, which, Klotzy, you'd love to bring him back.
They're all going to get paid.
Those are all guys you're going to have to pay. And the reality is you're not going to be able to pay all of them at top market value. Now, can you restructure and front load money and make things work? Probably for some of those players, but to have all those guys top paid at their position is just not realistic.
They do too. I do want to bring up one thing as well, though, and outside of the paying the Goff thing, because even then, you extended Goff last year, you extended Panay, you extended Amon-Ra, all these deals, even the Derek Barnes situation with Klotz with you, at the moment, it's oh my gosh, that's a big deal. Whether you like the player or you don't like the player, whatever it is, the deals look big right away. But as it keeps going, and I feel like this is repetitive, that every single time Brad Holmes and the Detroit Lions re-sign a player or extend a player, there's always these side of Lions fans who are like, oh my gosh, you overpaid. Why did you give him this much money? We're not going to be able to afford everyone. Again, just like with Derek Barnes, and just like I said with Jared Goff, just like I said with Amon-Ra, and just like I said with Penei Sewell, let the market develop a little bit. Give it now. I'm not saying give it a couple weeks, give it a couple months, give it 2 years. And when he has this next year, right? And then he'll have 4 more after that. It's 5 years left. Once we get into that second year, you'll look at his contract and be like, we have an absolute steal at $21 million to have the best safety in the NFL. And it'll be the same thing with Penei Sewell when you look at his contract. You're like, we have a steal in Penei Sewell. Right now, currently with Jared Goff, whether it's you want the rookie deal or not, a guy that plays the level that Jared Goff plays, you have a steal now when you break down his contract, because he's no longer the top 3 highest paid quarterbacks. He's down on the list now. And Amon-Ra, he's down on the list now. And it's going to be the same thing with all these guys. So as this cycle goes, I think they're going to be able to have an opportunity to pay most of these guys. But you can't overreact when you see the number initially. You have to give it a little bit of time. He's going to be at 21 million. Guess what? Branch is probably going to get 23, 24 next year. And you're going to be like, wow, we have a steal in Kerby there. They're both probably all pro safeties, right? And you have one for $3 or $4 million cheaper. So that's where to me, it's I'm fine with this deal. There's no, and then they're going to start getting into those questions, Jeff, that you said. I'm going to be honest here. I'll say this with contracts. I don't think Aiden Hutchinson gets 40. He's not going to get 40. Max Crosby got
35.
Max Crosby got 35. So I think when you
36.
do break down some of these contracts, I think a guy if people want to price it out, be like, oh, Hutch 40, Sam wants to be the highest paid tight end. I think really realistically, I think there is going to be a situation where Hutch is like, all right, 35, let's roll. What leg does he have to stand on when it comes to all pros and pro?
Yeah, you had it.
Yeah. Sorry, but you know what I'm saying when it comes to accolades, like Brian or Kerby Joseph walked into. Hey, you guys know how these deals get done, right? You walk in and you say, these are my accolades, these are my stats, these are all Pro Bowl, and then they put those numbers up against other people in the NFL, and then they go, these are what these guys get paid. That's how they do it. They don't just go in there and be like, Hutch goes in there and goes, I'm going to win 3 defensive player of the years the next 3 years. Pay me $40 million now. No, it's not how it's not how the contracts work in the NFL.
We're foreshadowing, but what do you think he does this year?
I think defensive player of the year, but again, I think he gets an extension in the next month. So at that point, you're like, he hasn't won a defensive player of the year yet. Are you going to pay him the same price as a 2-time defensive player of the year at $40 million? No.
No,
Max
but
Crosby's
he'll probably
getting 36.
Yeah.
So you're probably going to say he's going to be just under Max Crosby. He goes out there and wins Defensive Player of the Year for a couple times, and then guess what his next deal is?
Yeah,
that's the big breaker
He'll be a
right
top
there.
2 paid defensive end. Top 2.
No, I disagree. He'll be top 6. Top 6. He's going to be $35 million.
That's not top 6 money.
Yeah, there's Daniil Hunter at like 37, I think 38. Miles at 40. Trey Hendrickson's going to
Daniil Hunter is making $37 million.
I could be wrong, but it's right.
I can tell you boys right now. Average Miles Garrett's 1 with 40. Daniil Hunter's 2 with 35. Max Crosby's 2 with 35. Nick Bosa 34.
35.
And
right
then defensive lineman, next one's Milton Williams and Montez Sweat at 24.
Those guys don't matter. It's really just those top guys. And really, Trey Hendrickson's going to get about 36, 37, if not 40. So it's like when Hutch signs, he's probably going to get about 35. He'll be right there under the Max Crosby line, in my opinion, which I think is fair until he goes out there.
Yeah, which he deserves.
Contract.
Like, it's $5 million.
He can reset the market in his second deal when those guys are all retired and he's that next man up. So, the Kerby deal. I love the Kerby deal, boys. I mean, I'm fine with it. Those are guys you have to bring back. He's the best safety in the NFL, without a doubt. Free safety, that is.
Yeah, it's just the reality. I mean, when you have a GM as like Brad Holmes, that's as good as he is at identifying talent, it just comes with it. It's a good problem to have. But the reality is, although ideally you'd like to keep everyone, it just gets difficult when you hit on draft picks that become all pro players or borderline all pro players. Like these guys rightfully so want to get paid, and Kerby deserves every penny he got. I mean, you'll see it as the years go on. The production, what he means, especially come postseason, how important takeaways are, and he does that at the highest level. So I think it's awesome. I think he deserves it. I don't care who's talking about an overpay. And people just love. It's just like rage bait to me. Just spitting out overpay. It's like, what are you talking about? Who do he jump? Antoine Winfield?
Yep.
It's like, okay, Antoine Winfield's
they're both making 21 too.
But it's like, what are you going to get right under Antoine Winfield? It's like, no. He was an all-pro safety. And it was his turn to get paid. So, yeah, it is what it is. Happy for Kerby. It'll be interesting to see how Brad kind of balances everything. But, again, you want Brad probably in that position. So, Branch, see what happens. You have him under control for this year, and then he goes into his 4th year the next year. So, you have a little bit of time. At least you have this year. You have the whole roster together. Still on most of those guys still on rookie deals. So,
yeah, next 2 years. Again, they might not all be on rookie deals, but you're going to have the guys together for the next 2 years that this core is built on.
Tom Izzo
signed or not.
No, 100%. I mean, Tom Izzo said, "I just want Branch to." What? No, I'm genuinely saying
he hit the 100%. That's a low blow.
No, that wasn't okay. Tom Izzo said, "I just want Branch to get signed. Hope this doesn't fuck that up. Branch is a Swiss Army knife, and it's been a while, fellas. I hate you all." Hey, Tom, we love you too, man. Appreciate you. Yeah,
I'm interested too. Someone put in the chat the guaranteed money for Kerby. Interested in that. No one's put it out.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, you'll find what that is. That's the important number, and how the contract's set up. I would like to know that.
I almost want to ask. Fully guaranteed.
Hey, Brad, go ahead. Ask Boone. Hit up Brad Holmes at this hour.
No.
Hey, Peter says replacing Taylor and Frank will save us 15-ish a year, and the cap in 29 will jump because of the CBA window will be open for another 4 to 6. Yeah, if you want to save $20 million,
Taylor
Decker would be probably
Josh Simmons,
the guy at some point. I think.
Klotz, did you draft Josh Simmons in the first round?
We'll
no. It's a yes or no question. It's a yes or no question. Did you?
No.
So you can't keep saying that. You can't have everyone. In the first
you're
round.
telling me.
I'm just saying, if you're gonna stand on that hill and say that, let's
Ariante Ursary.
All right, that's better. Second round guy. That's a lot better. This was that thing a couple months ago where every time something came up, you had a new first round player. Like, give me him.
And Nick Pieces, look at Kirby's 3 seasons, then look at Ed Reed's. Kirby's Ed Reed like. I mean. I'm not going to say he's Ed Reed, but what I'm going to say is if he continues this, that's Hall of Fame type. That's a Hall of Fame production type.
He's not Ed Reed is. It's like saying that I don't know.
You're talking about potentially the GOAT,
like Joe Burrow's Tom Brady. Like you can't just say that. Like they got so much more to prove. Like I think Reed, the way he sees the field, just the way that he hit people.
You could just say the man is on track to have a Hall of Fame career.
Yeah.
He's going into year 4. And since he's been in the NFL, he is leading the league in interceptions. And it's not like a couple, it's like 4 interceptions, I think. That's like a whole season of interceptions, which is crazy.
Hey, we also have an update on Jameson Williams, this kind of situation here. Shout out to the admin for the Lions. Put out the, voluntary workout post and titled it, "We Gucci over here." Right? You see that? We Gucci over here.
We Gucci over here.
Picture of Jameson Williams. So
I respect the Lions for doing that. I actually do.
Yeah, I'm happy they did. Especially before the draft. Because I know there was things posted on Twitter and stuff about J-Mo. I think he put stuff on his social media, and I honestly think it had nothing to do with the Lions. It was about stuff with loyalty. I don't know what the hell it had to do about, but I just don't think it had anything to do with the Lions, more so personal stuff. So that just poured gasoline onto the fire a little bit more. But we all said J-Mo is not going anywhere. At least we don't think he should. And it was just for clicks as far as these stories getting
out. Hey, I also saw it today too. I saw it. We posted it. Jake Fromm got cut.
Oh,
it's devastating.
Are we trying to win a Super Bowl or what?
Klotz, all jokes aside, it happening, and maybe I didn't see something because I saw someone comment under my post being like, Booner, they already announced it's just a financial thing, which no, they just literally just said we're releasing Jake Fromm. So I don't know who put out there it's financial. I think where there's smoke, there's fire, boys. Where there is smoke, there is fire. Typically, a team goes into I'm just saying, typically a team goes into training camp with 4 quarterbacks. Why 24 hours before the NFL draft? Why all of a sudden just, hey, let's release Jake Fromm?
Because Seth Hennigan's a Lion.
Because there's quarterbacks in this class that they like, and that in the later rounds they might try and add a quarterback. I don't think that's that crazy of a thought process. I tweeted it out. There were some people in the comments
any Seth Hennigan love or no?
Hey, you
no one knows.
You let
There was a couple
Kyle
Jalen
Allen
Milrose
before,
actually.
Oh, please.
Second round, imagine they move.
No, Seth Hennigan in
shocked.
the 6th or
I was
7th.
shocked.
Oh, I wouldn't hate that.
That's where
I
Seth
saw
Hennigan.
someone a couple days ago on Twitter be like, if this is so funny, if Shedeur Sanders is available in the 2nd round, you get him. You don't draft the quarterback in the first 2 rounds if you're Brad Holmes. In the first 4 rounds if you're Brad Holmes.
Yeah. It's the same thing. It's like Klotzy's take with Matthew Golden. You can love something from a distance,
Yeah, let him if you love something, man, let it go.
Yeah.
Don't let the Hendon Hooker situation where it's I'm not saying Hendon Hooker is what Matthew Golden is as a wide receiver, but Hendon Hooker truly had a shot if he was drafted to a team that needed a quarterback after a year, take a flyer on him. He'd get some reps. You put him behind Jared Goff, and he's never going to play for the Lions. He's just never going to see the field. They're holding guys hostage to a point if you just keep going to a straight BPA. So,
hey, can we pull up the Hendon Hooker photo?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm trying to find it. Hold on. I'm going to try and see if I can get this done here.
I got it.
Maybe it's just me. Here, I got it for you, Juicy J. I already put it in my I got it pulled up here. Does Hendon Hooker look like he lost 1 million pounds?
I think he's just
that's not Hendon. Am I crazy?
Is that Hendon Hooker or is that someone else?
They put on the website unless they changed it since I went back, they put in there Hendon Hooker underneath it.
That is it's definitely Hendon Hooker, all jokes aside. I don't know. Maybe he's just dude's just
maybe it's the fit.
Dude, I don't know. But when I saw it, I went, is Hendon Hooker okay, boys? All jokes aside.
Is my guy taking Ozempic? Streams only? Is he on that Ozempic or what's going on?
Hey,
I don't
you guys
know.
Need an ex wide receiver, I heard. He's gonna take the throw prior out, man.
I think he's just I told you, he's just sick of the bullshit, He's just stop playing with me.
When I saw it, I was a little worried. I was like, this can't be this guy.
That's his form of holding out from the team. He's just going to starve himself till he trades.
They just keep dropping peanut butter jelly sandwiches off at his locker and he just throws them away. Send me to Vegas.
Yeah, there's that. I don't know.
I was
That-
shocked when I saw this. I was like, Dad, there's no way Hendon Hooker came back from an offseason looking like that. Like, don't you want to like get a little yoked a little bit so you can lower that shoulder?
If you're a quarterback, Mahomes talks about all the time, you want a little belly on you.
Yeah.
Keeps you safe. Like Big Ben played all those
Yeah,
years,
you gotta-
still had a fucking cannon. You look at him compared to Phillip Rivers, throwing those sidearm. I hated watching Phillip Rivers throw the ball. It pissed me off. But both were good. But who was better late in their career? Big Ben.
Now,
And I would say one last thing about the quarterback thing, about drafting a quarterback and all of that. This is a perfect day and a perfect example for all this to happen. If you're one of those guys that were commenting, oh, Jalen Milroe, Jalen, second, third round picks. What was Kerby Joseph, boys?
yeah,
Third round pick.
valuable.
Third round
Pick
pick.
97.
You waste a pick on a quarterback. What was Hendon Hooker?
It was the third round,
Fourth
pick.
round, I believe.
Third
Or
round
fourth-
pick.
third or
I think it was
fourth.
a
I
third
could
round.
be wrong.
I think it was a third
was
round
third,
pick.
I
Either way, still the same point stands. You take a shot on a guy like that when you could get a guy like Kerby Joseph, an all-pro safety. And that's
Yep.
like you're desperate to need that now after paying all these guys.
Now we could talk about the guy you drafted, both of those players, Hendon Hooker and Kerby Joseph, because tomorrow is the day where Brad cooks. You know, he gets loose out there in the draft, dialing the phones, making moves, you know, trying to draft the next Kerby, trying to draft the next Amon-Ra, Panay, Aiden, all these players. And I think it's a fair question just to get a temperature check for like us and for fans, kind of still where you at confidence level wise. Because we talked a lot this offseason about like the edge position, why it should be prioritized, or other positions, or what if Brad does this? Oh, I wouldn't like it if Brad does this. Let's cut the bullshit. All right. Just cut the bullshit. What's your confidence level in Brad Holmes? Because I'll tell you this. All right. Although there's positions like wide receiver, running back in the first round, you know, if they take a corner, depends, I guess, on the corner, but I'd still not like it. But it we'll see. We'll get to Peter Schrager's mock. Some players, I guess, I would have to swallow it. But regardless, let's talk about Brad. Okay, Brad Holmes is one of the best at what he does, and you're going into one of the most important drafts since Brad got here. And let me explain why. Because it's not just about this year and getting contributors that can help you for your Super Bowl run, because you already have a good team. So let's be real here. Not too many of these guys. It's not like all these guys are going to be playing a ton of snaps, but it's for the future. The future. And that's what Brad looks for, right? Best player available, but guys that, again, maybe in the future can replace your current starters. So this is why this draft's important. Replacing guys that are aging or guys that are playing that maybe are on the back end of their career, like Graham Glasgow and, you know, potentially Taylor Decker down the line, or, you know, throw Frank in there, whatever. Tim Patrick. And that's why it's super important. But also, if you just look at like position by position, nailing on an edge is very important for this season. So it's a mix of both. It's why this draft is so important for the Lions. And I have full confidence in Brad. I haven't wavered. You know, I haven't lost confidence. I think it would be idiotic for someone to just sit here as a Lions fan or you know, talk to their buddies and be like, hey, man, I'm kind of nervous about tomorrow. You know, I don't know. Brad might fuck this thing up. I think that's irresponsible. I think Brad has shown that, you know, no matter what, he's going to find a talented player. It may be at a position you don't necessarily like. Doesn't mean the player is not talented. And we may disagree with a player or a pick. But again, it doesn't mean that player doesn't have some upside or there's something in that player. Now, if there's a project, I understand why some people would be upset given what's happened with some of the projects. But for the most part, boys, I'm in a good spot mentally with Brad Holmes. I'm confident and I'm excited. You know, I'm going into this draft tomorrow fired up. We're going to be at DraftKings Sports and Social in Troy. So come on through and hang out with us. 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, the draft starts. 7 o'clock, Pistons game starts. But I am ready, boys. I am like, if you could get my heart rate, you know, I don't have my Apple Watch on, but I could tell my heart rate. Cool, calm, collected. That's where I'm at.
Wow.
Right
Okay. I kind of respect that, a little calm over there. I'll tell you this, and I'm interested to know if people kind of get the same feeling from me. Feels like, what is this, year 5 for Brad in the draft, 5th draft class going into?
First one was 2021.
yeah.
So yeah.
So this is the 5th draft class he's going into. First 3 draft classes he had. Brad's always preached BPA, right, boys? Like, I'm getting the best players that can come in and compete right away.
Yep.
First 3 years, you can make a very, very strong argument that he did that with almost every pick, whether or not they came in and produced or they're still on the team. Like I can name the guys right now, and we can go off a small list here. Penei Sewell, Aleem, Iffy, Amon-Ra, Derek Barnes, and then you have, the Levi O, who's still competing. Jamar Jefferson, kind of a 7th round, one of those kind of one-offs, but still is on the team competing. Hutch, Jambo, Josh, Kerby, Malcolm, Chase Lucas for the longest. Like, I could just keep going. His first 3 drafts, boys, Brad's done that. And he has found a way to, like, hey, I'm going BPA, I'm going to do it. It felt like last year maybe Brad took a step back and said, and if he wants to say he didn't, he can go ahead and say that. I know it's wrong and it's kind of a lie. And you know me, boys, I'm always hey, Brad's always right. But what has Brad always said? I don't draft for ceiling. I don't draft for floor. I draft BPA for a guy to come in, compete tomorrow. I don't care about depth chart, nothing. What did he do last year? Terrion comes in, competes right away. That's a good pick. Ennis Rakestraw, if there's no injuries, I would say he potentially can compete. But Sione Vaki, that was like hey, he's got a good ceiling, could really help us out here, and he could really get to a ceiling there and that potential. We love what we see here for the future. Giovanni Manu, hey, we love what we see in the future. We could definitely go out there and we could find something to work on and just kind of put him behind some of these guys and learn. Makai Wingo, hey, we love this ceiling. Now, I'm not going at these guys, but my point is with all of this, boys, is this draft this year over the next 3 days, it can't be, hey, this guy's ceiling is really good. Like, hey, this guy can really go out there in the next 4 years. We can develop him and hope he works out. I think it's more important for Brad to go out there and say, we really need to go BPA. We need to be aggressive in trades. We need to move up if we need to in the first, second, third. We need to go get guys that can compete today because you're spending $400-500 million on extensions. You can no longer afford to keep paying all these guys and not drafting well and banking on and sitting back and being like, yeah, we could Giovanni Manu, like, he'll be good in 3 years. And if he's not, what are we going to do? And I think Brad understands that. I think he knows it. This isn't me telling Brad something that I know more than him. I think Brad really understands, like, hey, we still need to I need to go out there and have a draft class like I did my first year with Penei Sewell and Kerby and Amon-Ra and those guys, or that's a different draft class. But you know what I mean? Those first 2 years, like, I need to hit like I did my first 2 years. That cycle has now reset. You have to go out, and you have to hit like you did there. And I think that's where Brad is. And I know it was brought up. Hey, is Brad going about this the wrong way? Is his approach, his approach wrong? I've already seen it in the chat tonight. His extensions, he shouldn't have extended Jared Goff. He shouldn't extend this guy. Shouldn't do this guy. I think he's going about it the right way. I think he had a lapse of a year in 2024 in the draft, and he went about development instead of BPA. And I think that kind of hurt a little bit. And I think this year he gets back to BPA. And I'll guarantee it. I don't even know who the players are in this draft class. There'll be 2 all-pro players come out of this draft class over the next 4 years. 2. Brad Holmes will be back, and he'll say, "Screw the ceilings. I don't care about having to get these guys. Hey, give them 2 or 3 years to develop. We want guys now. We need guys now. We're in a Super Bowl window. We need to win a Super Bowl. And on top of that, we need young guys who can compete because of the contracts we have. We can no longer afford free agents, and we don't have that luxury anymore." So I think Brad Holmes goes out there this week, and boys, I think he's on the right approach. I think he just has to kind of check himself a little bit and be like, all right, boys, let's get back on track here. Let's do what we did the first 3 years instead of last year. So
I agree with you, Boone. I think last year, like he took a step back as far as his approach, but I think it was a hard year when you consider how many picks was it, boys? Like 14 straight offensive players off the board. And now maybe he didn't want those 14 offensive players, but that definitely affected the way that the draft stock kind of fell, especially with the teams in the division in the NFC later in the draft. But I think this is the perfect class for Brad to get back into that philosophy because it is a little bit of a weaker draft. And I do think personally, it's not going to be like most in NFL history, but there's going to be trades made in this draft. And I think Brad Holmes is going to be one of them because there's going to be guys and teams and organizations that just want to go get their guy. They don't want to sit there and say, hey, let's go BPA here. And the cream of the crop at 28, 27 later in this draft, it's not what it normally is. So go up and get your guy. And I think Brad Holmes makes a move up to get to whoever he wants. We got our mock drafts later, so we'll see who that is. But I'm excited, boys. Jeff, you said you're cool, calm, and collective. I'm not nervous, but I'm excited because I think Brad makes a move up, and I think he gets a player that Lions fans will love. I don't think he's going to go out and get a wide receiver, and I know that's not the need aspect, but I think Brad Holmes makes a good pick. I don't think we're going to be walking out of this draft literally like some people have with picks made in previous years.
Well, what if this was the pick? Peter Schrager, one of the most accurate mockers in the history of mockers. All right, mock drafters. That's what he does. And he came out with his, now for ESPN, his new employer. And he had the Lions taking Will Johnson. Will Johnson at 28 overall. Yes, Will Johnson. There he is. And he writes here, Johnson's stock has slipped a bit. He had a foot injury last season and was inconsistent for the Wolverines. He also sat out of Michigan's pro day because of a hamstring injury. He's a top-level talent, though, and he'd be a perfect corner to complement Terran Arnold. What if – now I'm about to test you. What if Will Johnson was the pick?
All right. Can we do this? Let's do like an exercise. You guys want to do an exercise? Chat, let's just do this real quick. Can we just do like reality? Let's like do two different worlds here. Can we do two different worlds?
Yes.
One world. Lions don't get Zadarius Smith back. Aren't desperate for an edge rusher. Still don't know really what Terrion is. Will Johnson's really, really good, boys. Like he could change. He could be one of the best corners in the NFL one day, and that's a rookie deal. So let's stay in this world. Let's just stay in that. I will go to the different world in a second.
You know what, Steve? I will do a poll. I'll do a poll. I'll give my thoughts, and then I'll do a poll.
That's a BPA pick if Will Johnson's at 28, man. That's a BPA where you're like, this kid's a dog, man.
I think we can all agree. Can we agree that in life there are exceptions to pretty much every rule? All right. Most rules, there's exceptions. Okay. There's always going to be an exception. Although a corner would be something at position-wise that we would just be like, why? Will Johnson, if he was healthy, he would be a top 10 pick. You know what I mean? Like that's there's got to be a player like Will Johnson would be the player where I'm like, I mean, the guy's so good. It's like,
can we be honest? If he was coming out after they won the national championship last year when he was healthy, he could have been in last year's draft, which was a way better draft, like top to bottom, every position. He would have been a top 10 pick.
So I'm
a way better draft.
I would not be upset. You know why? Because let me explain this. I'll do that, Klotz, and I'll throw it to you on this. Okay, if you get Will Johnson in that second round pick, you go get me a Jordan Birch.
Oh my Lord.
It's feeling a lot better, Klotzy. Talk to me, Klotzy. Come on.
Fellas.
He loves Will Johnson.
He
loves Will Johnson. I
you
know
bring Will Johnson if he's on the board at 20. Do you understand? Guys. We're not talking about Matthew Golden. We're not talking about, I'm just pulling Colson Loveland. We're not talking about, in my opinion, even a Jahad Campbell. Will Johnson is somebody that I look at and I think could be an overreaction, fellas. I'm interested to see what your thoughts on this. Year one could be better than Terrion Arnold. I think Will Johnson is somebody that there's no way in my imagination I see Will Johnson there at 28. I don't see a world where that happens. If that happens, you take Will Johnson because we love DJ Reed, love Amik Robertson, both those guys up there in age, and you could put Amik Robertson or DJ Reed on the inside. You add Will Johnson on the outside with Terran Arnold, with Kerby Joseph, who you just extended. Again, I know I literally just said a couple minutes ago, hey, I don't think Brad Holmes goes and picks a wide receiver, a cornerback. But if it's Will Johnson,
he's the exception.
You bring Will Johnson, then you get Josiah Stewart to go with Aiden Hutchinson. I'm an Ohio State guy, fellas, but I would be so happy with that draft pick. So come on.
I'm just going to give a heads up. And my mock draft, I have Will Johnson falling to the very last pick in the first round. And I had passed on him with the Detroit Lions because, and this is I think the only way if Will Johnson gets past the Detroit Lions, I obviously traded up into 20 to where it was like Will was never, you know what I mean? Like that was never an option. I was trading up for my guy, for Brad's guy.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I do think, like, if I'm being honest, I think there's a very, very good chance Will Johnson does fall to 28. I don't think it's because of how good of a player he is or what he is. I think it's just because of the draft class he falls in and team needs. Like I text Jeff today when I set my mock and I said with Will, like, I was like, I got Will going. Oh no, I had him switch it. I think he switched it to 30th. I believe. Maybe not. Maybe I didn't switch that and I forgot to do that. But either way, I don't think there's a lot of teams in this first round where you could argue, hey, they need a corner, especially with some of the players that are on this board with offensive linemen, defensive linemen, some of the weapons in this first round. So that's where it's like I would not be shocked if Will Johnson fell, or even Jahdae Barron, if Jahdae Barron somehow falls.
I think the irony in the fact that the draft's in Green Bay, if Will Johnson is on the draft board at 24 and Brian Gutekunst looks at that cornerback room that they have in Green Bay, seeing Jair Alexander is gone. Keyshawn Mixon's pretty much, okay, Keyshawn Mixon, he had a year, maybe two, but as far as a corner, we saw what Amon-Ra did to him 2 years ago in Lambeau Field. Cooked him. Corey Ballantyne, I mean, we're pulling straws here. If you have Will Johnson on the board at 24 for the Packers and you pass on him and you let him fall to the Detroit Lions, Tom Grassi's going to be going nuts. Packers fans are going to be going nuts. They need a corner so badly. There's wide receivers you can get later in this draft. I bet T-Mac's probably off the board. Wouldn't be shocked if Matthew Golden is as well. You could take a receiver there, but it's just going to be another wide receiver 2 right now. You have a wide receiver 1 in the just waiting for you in Will Johnson. I would be shocked. And I'm not saying that it doesn't happen, Boom, because I know that the injury concern, him not running the 40 is real. But if Will Johnson goes past pick like 20, if the Buccaneers pass on him, I'd be like, huh? That'd be one of those picks where you look back later on, and you're like, how the hell did that happen?
Yeah, well, I mean, would you do what Michael would do and pour hot wax on my nipples if we draft Will Johnson? That's aggressive.
It is such a weird thing though, Jeff, isn't it? Like,
but he's not. I'll tell you this. I'll just say this now. He ain't gonna fall past Arizona.
I have him going 30th overall.
I think he goes higher. Like just
and
because
I'm a Michigan man.
It's just, and I'm not, and I don't think you're not saying that because of the talent. You're just
the way
saying,
the board fell,
yeah, just the way it falls. I just have this feeling that like he could go as high as 49ers. They lose Tre'Davious Ward. Like I can see that too. So he's an interesting one. I wonder like if you could bet on like where guys go and stuff. Like
you can. We could talk about that tomorrow. We'll do that tomorrow morning.
Yeah, that's a good because I wonder what his would be. Probably the most complex.
You should probably look it up.
His would be really weird.
I don't even think it's Will Johnson. It's not Will Johnson though. To me, it's the corners. Like I think the way this draft, Klotz, like I get what you're saying. Like we could say the same thing and be like, he's just so good. He's so good. He's so good. Like we've seen all pro players fall. Like we've seen it, and then they end up being like, how? It's because with the way the draft falls, like a lot of teams look at it and they'll talk about need. Oh, what is positional value? Offensive line in this draft class, there are some dudes where you can argue. Klotz, you've been arguing Josh Simmons, Josh Connerly. Like there are these guys to where if a team falls in love with an offensive lineman, and there are teams out there, example like the Rams, who are like that one offensive lineman away from being elite. Like I think that's kind of how my board falls. Is before I wasn't really giving that much credit to O-linemen. As the days get closer, you start seeing reports of teams being very high on offensive linemen, very high on defensive tackles, very high on edge rushers, very high on some of these linebackers, or I guess kind of edges as well. But like, if the board falls the way it is, just like last year, Klotz, when you promised me there wasn't going to be 5 quarterbacks off the board and some of these defensive players would be drafted top 10 and we would have 4 defensive players in the top 10 and we don't get one until 16. It's like, that's kind of how this draft works. And that's where it's like, to me, I think there's a couple teams who could use corner. And if some of those teams get guys that are just better fall to them, they're going to go away from corner and go to the BPA. And then you get to the team that needs a corner and you're like, are they going to go Jahdae or Will Johnson? And then it's like, I got into that situation where I was like, all right, this team's probably going to go Jahdae Barron. And then after that, it's like, what team after this needs a corner? Do they need O-line? Do they need a corner? That's where I kind of fell. So I get what you're saying. Like, Will is that good. Like, he could go to the 49ers in top 12. or he could fall to 20. I think Schrager had him at like 28. Oh, yeah, he had him twice
Yeah.
at 28. That's why we're talking about it.
Mm-hmm.
Full circle moment there, Boone.
Yeah. So I don't think it's that great. And Schrager is literally the best in the world, mock drafter in the world. And the man had Will Johnson falling all the way to 28.
Well, you know what?
Is that crazy?
No, I mean, wait, it is kind of crazy that's where we're at with some of these guys. It is, and we're doing our most wanted list today, and we did it last year. Speaking of accurate assessments, last year our most wanted list, pat ourselves on the back a little bit, pretty accurate. All right, I think we had Taron Arnold. We had guys like we had corner on all of ours, Quenya Mitchell and Taron Arnold, and some other defensive ends that they didn't end up taking. But this year, we have our top 5. We have our top 5 most wanted Detroit Lions selections. So let's get into it. All right, Caleb. Hey, shout out Caleb, by the way. He's in the chat. Happy draft day eve, everyone. What a go.
Shout out Caleb.
This is our most wanted list. If these players are on the board or available closer to the Lions pick, it can be, marginal trade ups. We're not saying like Abdul Carter's on here, or we're not saying guys in the 2nd round or 3rd round or 4th round. These are projected 1st round picks, guys that we most desire to become a Lion. Number 1 being the most, 5 being the least, not in a bad way, just out of the 5 players you basically named. So let's get to mine here. Fellas,
come on.
Let me tell you about my 5. And by the way, these are my list, not yours, not Brad's, mine. So let me tell you about my list, all right? I'm going to start us off with a player that you will not be shocked by, and that is the big fella, James Pierce. All right.
Aligned.
List, fellas. All right. This is my most wanted list. These 5 guys, I'm fired up about it. Doesn't mean Will Johnson, I would be mad. It's just these are the 5 guys that I'm zeroed in on and I really like, and I hope the Lions can land them. There's obviously others, but these are the 5 that I chose. All right. So number 1, James Pierce. Let me tell you what James Pierce is going to be in the NFL. He's going to be a superstar. He's going to be a star. He's going to be an excellent player. He's going to be a guy who gets 8 to 10 sacks a year, fringe Pro Bowler. He's going to be a disruptor, a playmaker at the line of scrimmage, and someone that the Lions, if they do, which they probably don't, draft. But if they do, him and Aiden are they're going to cause problems. Okay, they're going to take your lunch money. They're going to cause problems, and I hope James Pierce is there. It's still, it's just being consistent. It's been my guy for a while, so that's my number 1 most wanted player because of what him and Hutch could do together. Throw 15 pounds on him. Get him in the lab with Casey Rogers. Let him work. Let him work. Drop him back. Maybe him and Aiden, first 2 defensive ends to get a pick in a game. Imagine that. He did it before, pick 6. All right, number 2. I got Jihad Campbell. Now, you might be looking at this going, well, why a linebacker? This is a football player now, all right? This ain't just a linebacker. This is a football player. Jihad Campbell. You can do it all. You get after the quarterback, drop back into coverage, disrupt, defend the run. Sideline to sideline guy. Can play any linebacker position you so ask of him. You can do it all. No one's spot safe. No one's spot safe if Jihad Campbell walks in the building. And I think what he could do is eventually be the replacement to Alex Anzalone, but he could also play that Sam spot. If there are injuries, he can come in different packages. He is the future. So this pick would not only be a player that can impact the game right now, but a player that can impact the team for years to come. So that's why I have Jihad Campbell on there. And then at number 3, Kenneth Grant, the big fella. All right. We're a pro Kenneth Grant show.
There we go.
Yeah, we're a pro Kenneth Grant show. People are going to, the people are going to look at the stat sheet and say, I Googled him. He's got 3 sacks. Okay. Watch the tape. Watch this man chase down 4 running backs. Watch him disrupt everything in the run game, in the pass game. He can do it all. They're double teaming him. He's a big, massive human being. All right. A massive human being. And if he comes in, him and Ali McNeil for years and years and years and centuries are going to be 2 dominant defensive tackles. All right. So I love Kenneth Grant. That's just athletically, he fits exactly what Brad's looking for, and I think he'd be an excellent pick. They might have to trade up for him, though, but we'll see. Gray Zabel, number 4. I love his versatility, and he's not as high on this list because I think there are other guards that I would put personally in like a similar tier as Gray Zabel. Like, I think Gray Zabel's I like him. He's on this list for a reason. But there's other players, like, for example, if they took Tyler Booker, I'm not going to sit here and be like, I should have picked Gray Zabel. Like, I'm okay with Tyler Booker, too. So that's why I have him a little, I'm more so on the back end. I think the 3 guys in front of him are like, give me these 3 players. Okay, I would be upset if you took, an alternative, maybe a lesser option. But Gray Zabel, I think there's other options. But I really like his versatility. That's what stands out to me, fellas. Not too many guys can play center and guard and play tackle. I don't care that he went to North Dakota State. All right, I think Gray, he's got the size, all the stuff you kind of look for, and his versatility is obviously a plus. Very smart player, so I like Gray Zabel. He just looks like he looks like a lion. I mean, he kind of does, man.
Can I throw something out there for you, Jeff?
Throw it out there.
Left tackle this year, 960 snaps. 2023 right tackle, 600 snaps. Left guard, 200 snaps. 2022 right tackle, almost 400 snaps. Center, 15 snaps. Left guard, 152. He's played every position.
You guys ever have, I'm blanking right now, but one of those tools where you could peel back there's a bunch of different tools.
Yes, great. Hey, that's a great tool to have around the house.
Gray Zabel is, you got like a little screwdriver, you got little Phillips.
It's like a Swiss Army knife.
That's
exactly what it is, Phil. I was waiting for something.
Swiss Army knife. Klotzy.
That's why I don't think you draft him as a guard center. I think it's if you need a Taylor Decker replacement, you throw him at guard for a year.
He's special. That's what he is. Okay. And then at number 5, I have Michael Williams. Not Michael Walker, for those that were wondering.
Yeah, there we go.
Michael
Williams.
Guy,
dude. He really put me into a blender.
Yeah, I put Booner in a blender.
I tried to put out my
Hey, Michael Williams. I like him because he fits everything I'm looking for, and I know we're all looking for in kind of the size, weight, ability type of thing. And he's a very aggressive football player. I went and watched more of Michael over the last couple of weeks, and the one thing that stands out to me when you're watching him is this dude plays pissed off constantly. He's always pissed off playing ball, and I like those type of guys. Nasty, physical, disruptor. That's what he is. Now, he's not the in terms of like the level of pass rusher that maybe James Pierce is, but what he is he's big, physical, and he's a presence. And that's what I like about Michael Williams. He can bring that to the Lions. And I think the Lions are, I think they would like a guy like Michael Williams. I think he'd fit exactly kind of that Davenport. I know people are going to get turned off by that, but what I'm saying is that build physically. I bring up Savion Jones for a reason. Michael Williams is the first round kind of version of that. And like Tyler put, high floor, low ceiling. I don't even like say, and this is the thing, people get so offended about high floor. Give me high floor. Okay. If you're going to tell me a guy's coming out and he's going to be really good, or at least just good for a long time, I'll take that. I have no issue with it. It's what I say about Jack Sawyer. People are like, oh, high floor, low ceiling. Like if you get that dude in the second round, he gets you 8 sacks a year. I'll take it. I'm cool with it. So that's my most wanted list, fellas. All 5 of those guys.
FA. I love it. I'm not going to say much because it can reveal a lot of mine, but I love the players.
Yeah.
See, I figured out, I made this last night, and then you sent me yours, and it was obviously in different order, but I go in Klotzy's dialed today because he's got the same guys.
I'll comment on both of your guys'.
Yeah, pull up my list because Jeff, I thought you cooked. But there's just one thing I think we need to just grill into people's mind if you guys don't mind me doing at the beginning of this, because I don't know where the noise comes from. But Kenneth Grant, boys, is my number 1 most wanted. And I know there's people in our stream who are saying, why would you want Kenneth Grant? And so I went out there and I found film from this year and the playoffs last year where it does not have Kenneth Grant running down Katron Allen, okay? This is just 40 seconds of why Kenneth Grant should be a Detroit Lion and why I want him out of more than any edge rusher, more than any corner, safety, you name it. I want Kenneth Grant more than anybody. Watch this, boys. Michael Penix in the national championship game, claps in the pocket, just game wrecking. He's the size of Fletcher Cox, and he is just completely athletic. He's an athlete. And I think there's a little bit of a case where I brought it up with the Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison. Now, I get this is a completely different situation, But when you look at Mason Graham, people are saying he's easily a top 5 pick in this draft. And I don't hate that. I think Mason Graham's spectacular.
Jesus.
But when you talk about Mason Graham's really good, so it almost takes away from Kenneth Grant. I believe Kenneth Grant has so much more upside. Shouldn't say so much more. A lot more upside than a guy like Mason Graham just because of his size and his athleticism. I think when you look at it, Kenneth Grant is going to be the best defensive lineman, I should say, out of this draft class when you look back 5 years from now. And with Aleem McNeil not going to be completely healthy to start the season, DJ Reader, he's on the kind of the downflow of his career. Kenneth Grant, somebody that you can plant day one in this defensive line group, is going to command a double team, going to be lights out against the run, fits this defense, and Casey Rogers and Kelvin Shepard are going to be saying, thank you, Brad Holmes. Thank you for bringing me Kenneth Grant. And so Aiden Hutchinson. Number 2, Mykel Williams. You had him at 5, Hefe. But Mykel Williams, I said it when we started talking about him. I look at him and I see Preston Smith, the former Commanders and Packers defensive end, where he is just so good at everything, where he can give you, I don't think Mykel Williams is going to have a season in the NFL where he leads the NFL in sacks, but I think he's somebody that can consistently, once he hits his prime, can give you between 8 to 10 sacks, and he's going to be a constant edge setter against the run, really good at bringing down the running backs, and he's athletic enough to chase down Caleb Williams, J.J. McCarthy, Jordan Love, all these quarterbacks in this division. Mykel Williams has that athleticism where he's going to translate into the NFL and give you that production that some people are concerned that he had in college. But I look at Mykel Williams, boys. How many Georgia defensive ends are just whiffs in the NFL, especially when they're projected top 15 picks, honestly. I don't think Mykel Williams is a guy you're sitting there at 28 and saying, oh, there's Mykel. You're going to have to move up and get Mykel Williams. So love Mykel Williams. James Pierce, I think he's just going to be the best pure edge rusher at getting to the quarterback. Not overall. I think he's not the Mykel Williams against the run, but James Pierce is so elite at getting to the quarterback, and I think that he does fall a little bit in this draft, possibly. Not a guarantee. I could see him going to Atlanta, but I could see him being a polarizing player that falls, and if you get him later in the first round, that's such good value that, again, the athleticism in the modern day NFL, he gets it. Gray Zabel, you had him at 4, Hefe, same reasons. I think Gray Zabel is going to be a really good player. I battled between him and Donovan Jackson for the versatility. The only thing is Gray Zabel is more versatile. So I think right there at North Dakota State, don't care. He just produces. The whole reason he stayed at North Dakota State is because the little brother's there, wanted to stay with him. He had NIL offers, but he stayed at North Dakota State. And finally, Jahad Campbell. Just a menace, just a football player. You give Kelvin Shepard that Swiss Army knife on the defense side of the football in that linebacker room. We've seen what he's done with Alex Anzalone, even as a veteran, how he's developed. Jack Campbell Malcolm Rodriguez. If he gets Jahad Campbell, he's going to turn this dude into a really good fucking football player. So Jahad Campbell at 5. Same 5 as Jeff, just different order. But Kenneth Grant, my number 1 player in this draft class for the Detroit Lions.
Hey, Klotzy.
F.A.
Very interesting.
I'm impressed. And I like it. I would put James Pierce over Mykel. Come on, Klotzy, you're smarter than that. But other than that, it's I like it.
Yeah, it's all right. No, I think it's all right.
It's all right.
I think both of them are all right. My only pushbacks, and this is just being honest, is like no matter what, and I'll say this for like Klotz, the only need on this Lions team that's like a make or break or Super Bowl, in my opinion, is if Za'Darius doesn't come back and you don't get a good edge to kind of go across. And you're like dying on a hill of Kenneth Grant, which to me, it's like most wanted. You should have an edge. Like it should be edge, and then we can go, at least 2 edges, and then we can go offensive line,
hey,
defensive tackle.
Let me run you through a situation real quick. We did earlier. Aiden Hutchinson, Kenneth Grant, Josiah Stewart. Give me that all day of the week. Go in the second round. Get it, dude. Hey, Brad, I don't think Brad Holmes drafts a defensive end. I think what he said during his press conferences, I believe last week or the week before, where he's like, we're not just going to take a player because he fits here. I don't think Brad goes
again, it's not, this isn't though, what is Brad going to do? Like when we do these lists, it's your most wanted.
Yeah,
Lukas
but it aligns with, I just love Kenneth
I guess
Grant,
so.
man.
You just love him. I mean, at that point, you should take
Boone, I just want Kenneth Grant and Honolulu Blue. I do. That's why we got Mykel and James Pierce 2 and 3, Boone. but give me Kenneth Grant. He's my favorite player.
I guess so. I think Kenneth Grant's going to be really good. I do. I don't know if he's going to be better than Mason Graham or the best defensive tackle out of this class. I feel like that's a pretty big stretch, but I think he's going to be very, very good. I think there's a chance he's a Pro Bowler at some point in his career. But
Fletcher Cox.
yeah, I mean, you're naming him against one of the greatest on the Eagles, man, to do it. So.
Hey, that's what he brings. That's what he brings, Boone.
All right.
I'm not handing out Hall of Fame careers before the draft, before someone's drafted.
Lucas has the courage. No, I'm just kidding. All right, Boone, you're talking about
get
Kenneth
me
Grant.
going with that.
Hey, I mean, you're talking about Kenneth Grant, Boone.
Yeah, listen, this is I have Kenneth Grant on my list as well, boys. I think he is good.
All
as well.
that yapping, and you got Kenneth Grant
don't do that to me, Jeff Iafrate. It has nothing to do with the yapping. It's realistic. It's what's your need for this team, right? To me, it's most wanted players. I look at what this Lions team can use, what they need. Aiden Hutchinson, what's the one spot defensively that you're sitting there going, boys, we could use someone there. To me, it's this edge group here, and I think if you don't bring Za'Darius back, number one, and again, a lot of people might say, well, Michael's not the number one edge rusher in this draft class. This is more realistic. If Michael starts to fall, boys, which I think there's a chance. Again, we don't know how the draft goes. If there is a chance, I think you could sit there and argue. Hey, give me the solo cam, Jeff.
Yeah, no, he didn't want that.
Give me the solo cam. Thank you very much.
Oh, he does want it.
Yeah,
okay,
I did that. I pressed the button, Jeff. I think with Michael, just like Klotz, you think with Kenneth Grant, I think there's a world outside of maybe Abdul Carter to where in 5 or 6 years, you're looking at it and going, hey, Michael was one of the best edge rushers out of this draft class. It probably goes Abdul, Michael. And then if you want to say Mike Green or one of those guys, but I think Michael has very, very high upside. And even Jalen Walker, if you want to throw him in that category. But I think if you can find a way to get Michael Williams from 17 to 20-something, I feel like that's the biggest steal for the Detroit Lions in this draft class. Number 2, Mike Green. I think just with the production, what he can do. I watched more Mike Green highlights the other day, boys. I was getting clips for him for the NFL draft tomorrow. And this kid is different. I know he played at Marshall. His bend, his quickness, it kind of paired there with the power that he has. We saw him versus Josh Connerly just absolutely blow him up in the Senior Bowl. What this kid can do is different. And I think it's up there with the Abdul Carters, the Michaels, the Jalen Walkers, and then you have the Mike Green. So I put my two favorite edge rushers that are realistic for the Detroit Lions if they make a trade. They're not going to trade into the top 10 and get Abdul or Jalen. But if they were able to trade up into the teens or early 20s to get an edge rusher, I think these two are the most realistic. I did Gray Zabel at 3, boys. I just did this with Gray. And Jeff, you brought up a good point when you kind of talked about Gray Zabel. I just think with him, it's a very safe pick. Like, you know what you're getting out of Gray Zabel, whether he has to play guard for you. And I saw Jesse at one point said, well, it's smaller school. Most likely those tackles play guard. That's a fair assessment. I think if you play him at the guard this year, let's say for Graham Glasgow, and you have Jonah, I almost said Jonah Jackson, Christian Mahogany in there, and you have those two in there, if it comes down to it where you're looking for a tackle and they feel like Gray is good enough to be able to step in and do that and give him a chance at it, there you go. You have another option to move him, and it's easier sometimes to find a guard than a high-tier tackle. So just the versatility with Gray Zabel. Klotz, Kenneth Grant, number 4 for me.
Come on.
I think it's just a defensive tackle position. I'm with you on it. I think it's realistic to where, one, if somehow Kenneth Grant falls into the 20s, you have an opportunity to make a move and go get him. I think he's going to be a very wanted player, so I don't think there's going to be an opportunity. But if the board falls correctly, Kenneth Grant could be sitting there, and I think they met with him. And I think him being a local guy, I'm sure they've been to a million Michigan games. We've seen Brad Holmes at some of those Michigan games. I think Michigan versus Texas. So he's seen him in person. He's seen him up close. He knows what he's about. He's probably spoke with him a million times. So I love the Kenneth Grant thing. If it does happen, Klotzy, I do like it. I'm with you on that. I was just wondering why he was number 1. That's my only pushback.
No,
it has nothing to do with
me, Boone.
Has nothing to do with the player. It's just more so the position and the need. And then number 5, I just went back to edge, boys. I 3 out of the 5 of mine, I did edge, and I did Donovan Izaraku. I think, again, him with the production, he reminds me, honestly, boys, reminds me of a Mike Green, maybe a little bigger, but just reminds me of what Mike Green is and can be. I think he gives you that versatility and just a pure pass rush, boys. Just get to the quarterback. You're going up against all those quarterbacks here this year, right, Klotzy?
Yeah.
Bunch of all-pro quarterbacks. Get yourself another weapon to go after him. Him and Aiden
On
Hutchinson.
the road, too, Boone.
Yeah, and you guys know I love Donovan Izaraku. I almost didn't have him. I almost had Jahad Campbell. I said I got to throw Donovan in there. If he's available, I think they'll take a look at Donovan Izaraku.
Yeah, but let me get this before we start critiquing this. I don't have any issue with your list. I love the players on there. The reason why Mike Green wasn't on there compared to James Pierce is simply because I think both in the NFL will have similar success at getting the quarterback. I just think James Pierce is a little bit better scheme fit. Mike Green probably would have been 6 for me. And then Donovan Izaraku, again, I just had the 2 defensive ends there. I put Jahad Campbell in there. I didn't want to have all defensive ends because, like I said, I think in the first round, it's not likely. So, again, where do I think that aligns with players who I still really like? Jahad Campbell there at 5, Gray Zabel, and then Kenneth Grant was my 1. Izaraku, if Mike Green was 6, Izaraku would probably been my 7th player. Like, if any of these guys are in Honolulu Blue, especially Izaraku, because I don't think he's somebody that you might not have to trade up for, but I think Baltimore sitting there at 27 makes me incredibly uncomfortable. I think you would have to just to be safe. But you bring him into this defensive line, again, like you said, you have a ton of all-pro quarterbacks on the road next year. NFC is just going to be tougher. That's perfect for this defensive line.
Hey, Jeff, did you get my honorable mention? Did you see it? Did you notice a player in there?
No,
I just want to know. I did it for you. Did you notice a player in my honorable mentions?
No, I honestly, just tell me. Who'd you have?
Take a guess. Defensive tackle.
Hey, Derek Harmon, baby.
I had him at 8. I had him at 8.
I love that. You know how hard it was not to vote Derek Harmon, but I was like Kenneth Grant.
You could have, and I would have been like, respect.
It's close. I think that's the thing with these most wanted lists. Like, there's probably 10 players we could have went through. You know what I mean? What I did is I went and looked at, all right, for me, because this is Booner's most wanted for the Lions, right? Like, I was like, all right, position value, like, what do I want this Lions team to add in the first round? And obviously, Brad goes BPA. We know what he does. But one thing I know we've talked about he does is typically if he brings you in on a top 30 or meets with you at the combine, you're getting drafted, right? Like, he doesn't draft people if he doesn't meet with you at the combine or the top 30. And I went and looked at all the top, first round guys that he's met with at the combine and brought him to Detroit. My list kind of came out to that. I typically wasn't going to, and the last couple of days I've been going against Derek Harmon, but I'll say this, or Jeff, last 24 hours, they've met with Derek Harmon. I've watched some more Derek Harmon film because I've heard guys like Todd McShay and different people talk about him potentially actually jumping into the first round and being like 20th, 25th, like a very, not just a back end guy, but like middle of the first round. I wouldn't be shocked if Derek Harmon is the 28th overall pick. I would not. And then I kind of had that realization. You don't want to see me when that happens.
Yeah.
No, Derek Harmon, I think I don't
shocked.
think he's at the beginning. But he definitely could be a first round pick. The thing that sucks for me, boys, is there's so many defensive tackles that I love in this draft. But I just want to take Kenneth Grant, get out the way. Like I do like Derek Harmon. Do not get me wrong.
No,
like Darius Alexander, Tyleek Williams.
There's a bunch of good ones.
It's like you take Kenneth Grant. There's so many good defensive tackles in that second round range, but you bring Kenneth Grant home in, you get something special because there's a little bit of rawness with Kenneth Grant where he's not completely polished yet. There's still some upside that we have not seen.
I think it's like that with a lot of these defensive tackles. There's a lot of very young. I think it's the same thing with offensive line in this draft too. A lot of young guys.
Yeah, that's why there's
polished young guys.
There's just a lot of, and it's deep. So yes, there's edges we prefer. Like I had James Pierce as my number 1 guy, but then there's other players that are they're like unicorns. You know what I mean? Like not in terms of like they're rare Hall of Fame players. I don't know, but what they can do, like Jahad Campbell, which you had him as an honorable mention. We can bring up your honorable mention, Boone. You had him on there too. We all like Jahad, but like Jahad, that's why I had him higher. It's like some guys are just freaking freaks.
Yeah,
and that's like Jahad Campbell. He's just a specimen.
By the way, too, Jeff, I wanted to push back on you on your James Pierce number 1. Klotz, I don't know what you had James Pierce.
How could you possibly?
It's your 1. Okay, you know what? I take it back. I remember in my head, it all was going through my head as you were talking about it. I had a plan of attack, and then I realized, don't do it, Booner, because it's Jeff's most wanted, not Brad's.
Yeah, we're not doing Brad's.
No.
This is me.
I just don't think that. Like, I think there's like a.
Rose fan.
Yeah, I think there's like a 5% chance. I think I deserve a little bit of credit for holding back there because I almost just took off.
Yeah, I
No,
give you credit.
You saved
Boone.
yourself.
I know.
You saved
I know
yourself.
how you are.
Because it
The
is
guy who doesn't like to argue likes to argue deep down.
these. Yeah, Boom is like.
I hate arguing, man. I don't enjoy it. I haven't argued in like 48 hours.
100%.
When was the last time I argued? You know?
No, but
These
these
probably.
lists are subjective, so they're
Took a
not
day
like
off.
this isn't what we think Brad's gonna do. These are our preferred players.
Yeah.
What we
I'm on a. By the way, too, I just want to throw this. I'm on a cleanse as well.
Oh yeah,
The-
he is.
What?
I'm on a
Cleanse from
2-week.
what?
I'm on a 2-week cleanse right now.
From what? Drugs? No, I'm just kidding. From what?
I'm on a cleanse. I'll just say I'll leave it at that. So some people can figure it out. I'm on a cleanse. I'm getting back to the old Booner. I'm getting back to Booner a year or two ago.
Yeah.
I want to get back to Booner.
Yeah.
Booner, you know,
I
fun.
think you're
Booner.
doing a good job, Boone.
No, you're doing a
Thank
good
you.
job, Boone.
We're getting back to old Boone. Boone's coming back. I'm pumped up.
He went to AA.
I was so confused by that. I'm going on a cleanse. I'm like, was this dude like? I mean, what? But I get what you're saying. You know what? Hey, Boone, you're never too. You can always, you can always go on a cleanse.
The old Booner needs to come back. The Booner path, the fun Booner. The fun Booner's coming back.
What's the chat doing? I mean, what is someone saying I love Shiloh Sanders? I mean, what are we doing?
Probably do.
I
In
mean,
the 7th round, man. I mean, the upside was Shiloh. I mean, he's been hanging around Dion his whole life. Him and
Shiloh?
Shedeur. I could see you like the Atlanta Falcons in the 6th round. They're gonna take Shiloh, and you're gonna go, hey, Klotz.
Shiloh
hey,
might
bro.
go undrafted. I
Raheem
think
Morris, they know what they're doing down there in ATL. They're going to be having a nice safety duo with Jesse Bates and Shiloh Sanders.
I think Shiloh goes undrafted. Sadly,
Yeah. We would have no, and I know this is disrespectful, but it's just the truth. We would have no clue who Shiloh Sanders is if he wasn't Deion's son or Shedeur's brother.
by the way, too, and I'll give Jeff credit, or not
I like the
credit, but
second one he said. Go on.
I'll just say this too, and you guys know I've been pretty like against people coming out anonymously about things. I've been very, very like, you should never be allowed to do that. The Shedeur Sanders anonymous assistant or anonymous coach comment
I didn't see that.
might be one of the most ridiculous things I've ever seen in the NFL. They probably, I don't know how they can track it down and how they're able to figure out who said it, but that person should like,
Dude,
there
it's
should
like
be
insane.
some rules behind
What did it
that.
say? I didn't see that.
They really went at Shedeur, and the bad part about it, it's like Shedeur's getting ready to have like a NFL draft life-changing moment, and an anonymous source, or it was like a coach or a GM, or not even a GM, assistant GM, came out and was like, he had one of the worst meetings we've ever seen. He was like rude. He came off as like, I don't even know. I don't want to say
They're trying to get him to
arrogant.
fall.
Arrogant.
Like they went in and said it. He's the worst. I could just let me just look it up. I can read it word for
I
word.
remember arrogant. I'm like, oh my god.
Let me see if I can read
You know
it
what
word
that
for
means,
word.
though, boys? I'm telling you, someone wants him to fall. Someone wants him to fall. You don't say that. Like that's just not. If you're not drafting him, why say that? Let some other team make that mistake then.
Yeah, facts.
You know what I mean? Like if he had a terrible interview, just be like, that guy stinks. Like we're not drafting him. Like
you should never.
Like you're not going to
should
go around
never
and
say
that
something
unless
I
you
think-
want him to fall or something.
Who was the Good Morning Football guy?
Kyle Brandt.
Yeah, he kind of went off on it, and he actually made a good point. He was like, when you're in those rooms, he was like, there is a sanctity, I think is the right word, to those rooms. Like, yes, there are things you can bring out of there, but you don't, if a guy is like that, you don't try, especially as a higher up in the NFL, you don't try and go at a guy's character and shoot a guy down and ruin his draft stock and call out his character like that. Like,
Yeah,
that's
in-house is one thing. Where if you're like, hey, we don't like him, but
Right.
yeah.
Just keep that in house.
So this is it. This is it, Klotz. He said this is what the person says. The worst formal interview I've ever been in my life. He's so entitled, horrible body language. He's not he's not that. Shut up, anonymous. I'm reading two quotes in one here.
He's not that shut up.
I'm reading two quotes in one here. I'm reading the Kyle Brandt quotes and the anonymous source quotes.
Kyle Brandt said shut up.
Yeah, he told him to shut up.
I love that. Yeah, that's Well, it's kind of ironic that you bring that up right before I get into my full first round mock, huh? Because hey, if there's one thing we can count on Crunch Time Sports, this program that we've been, building with the help of the great community, it is the consistency of one shooter going in the.
This is crazy to me.
Not coming down from this mountain, fellas. I'm on this mountain, and I ain't jumping until tomorrow night. That's at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, when the Giants select Shedeur Sanders. I mean, come on!
Zoom in, Hefe. Zoom in.
Let me talk to you for a second here, all right? So I'm just going to tell you about this top half of my draft. And I'm going to go through. We're going to get to the Lions pick. Don't you worry about it. But let me talk to the people for a second, all right? Let me tell you something. This is the correct order. Now, and I'm going to give some context because the boys did a great job of doing trades. So I did no trades because I didn't do any trades. I just did straight up who I think should go to each team in the first round, who I think fits the best, who I think will, who I think the teams will try and target, all that good stuff and much more. This is my full first round mock draft. So let's start at number 1, the obvious, Cam Ward. He's going there. No question about it. Travis Hunter, those two are locked up, boys. We can all agree. Those 2 picks, we all think, we agree. That's how the top 2 is going to go. But let's get to number 3. The Giants. They can listen. They're taking Shedeur Sanders. All right. They're taking Shedeur Sanders. Tomorrow night, 3rd overall pick is going to be Shedeur Sanders. And Joe Sheen, apparently the report is Joe Sheen, Brian Daboll may have a difference of how they view Shedeur Sanders. But there's only one man that's putting in that pick. And if he likes him, he's going to the Big Apple. And it's going to be Shedeur Sanders. So that's what's going to happen tomorrow. And then at number 4, Abdul Carter falls. Number 5, I have Ashton Gentry to the Jags. This is actually new developing right here, fellas. And I know Boone and me kind of were lockstep with this. The Jags could take Ashton Gentry. And honestly, the more that I think about it, this isn't me. You guys know how I feel about first-round running backs. But it makes sense for the Jags. I mean, why wouldn't the Jags take Ashton Gentry? It's like Mason Graham. I love Mason Graham. I think he can be a really good player. But if you have an opportunity to get Ashton freaking Gentry, who in most classes would be probably in the same realm as he is right now, many refer to him as generational talent. So why wouldn't the Jags take him? You have Ashton Gentry, Trevor Lawrence. You have Brian Thomas on the outside. And then in the second round, you can go get a defensive tackle. Like they can go get Derek Harmon if he falls, or Darius Alexander if he's there. They can go get a defensive tackle in the second round. He might not be Mason Graham, but guess what? How many running backs in this class are going to be Ashton Gentry? Let that simmer for a second. All right, number 6, Mason Graham falls. 7, a lot of these are the same. Okay, I have a lot of these are the same. I have Membu to the Jets. I have McMillan to the Panthers. This one's different. This is what I think is going to happen here. The McMillan stuff, not a big fan of watching film, all that crap. Listen, take McMillan. Take a big X, high-rated receiver to give to Bryce Young. Let's figure out if this guy stinks or not, can we? And then you can go get an edge in the second round. You can go get a pass rusher in the second round. You won't get Teteroa McMillan in the second round, all right? He's 6'5". He can do it all. And I think him and Bryce Young, Leggett would be a great pairing. And they have Adam Thielen, but he's not getting any younger. Will Campbell, Jackson Dart. Obviously, I have 3 quarterbacks in the top 10, boys. This is what I think is going to happen. I've said that. That was kind of my overreaction take. I'm going to stay consistent with that. Will Campbell to the Bears. Walter Nolan. A lot of these picks are the same. Luther Burden to the Cowboys. They met with all these receivers.
This is rich.
They met with all these receivers. Luther Burden, he's a Cowboy. Remember that. It just seems like a Jerry Jones pick. I don't know why. It's just a Jerry Jones pick. It's what I think is going to happen. And they met with him, Matthew Golden, and T-Mac. But in this situation, it'd be Matthew Golden or Luther Burden, and I think the Cowboys go Burden. And then we keep it pushing. Tyler Warren to the Colts, Calvin Banks. Those two kind of stay the same. I've been pretty consistent with that. James Pierce to Atlanta. They really love him. Will Johnson, like I was talking about earlier, Will Johnson should go much higher. Arizona's
him and Max Melton would be nasty.
Yeah, perfect landing spot, man. Perfect fit for him. Improve that defense. They got to improve that corner, especially in the NFC West. Look at all those receivers, man. Got to improve that corner. Got to have Will Johnson. Jalen Walker falls in my mock to 17. And the Bengals take him. They love him. He can do it all. Rush the passer. I mean, he's a really good player. How the board fell. He falls to 17. 18, Mike Green. That's a new one from 1.0 to 2.0. Jahad Campbell. That's kind of been the thing there. And then Malachi Starks to Pittsburgh. They need safeties. I think they're starting safety. I don't even know who his name is besides Fitzpatrick. They have Minka and they have.
I like this one, Jeff.
They have another random. I don't. No disrespect.
Sean Elliott. I think it's
yes.
Sean Elliott.
Yeah, I like this Malachi
from
the Steelers.
That's and Malachi can play strong safety. He's really good against the run. So they take a safety to pair with Minka Fitzpatrick, kind of improve their secondary. Kenneth Grant falls right into Jim Harbaugh's hands, and he leaves with Kenneth Grant. Great pick for them. Packers go outside corner, Trey Amos. I was going to go Jahdae Barron, but he's a nickel. Trey Amos, true outside guy. And I think that's what they're looking for to replace blanking on the name.
Jair Alexander.
Thank you, Boone. Jair Alexander. Trey Amos to replace Jair Alexander. So Trey Amos, I think Trey Amos can be, he's probably honestly underrated corner in this draft. He should be, him and Will are like the best in my opinion. Nick Emanawari to the Vikings because Malachi goes higher. Josh Simmons, that's pretty consistent. Have that before. Colson Loveland, you guys know how that rolls. Donovan Izaraku to the Ravens, like Klotz talked about. Then Gray Zabel, I had him in my mock. He goes 28 to the Lions. Lions take Gray Zabel because, of course, James Pierce isn't on the board for whatever reason. And then Michael Williams at 29. Commanders take him. Jahdae Barron at 30. They take a nickel. Great corner. 31, Josh Connerly to the Chiefs. And then 32, the Eagles take Shamar Stewart. Yes. Yep.
That's a good pick for them. Do you know who, was there anyone shocking that you had fall out of the first round?
I had, so Derek Harmon fell out of the first round. I didn't have him in the first round. There's one more player I'm forgetting. Nick Scorton, not in the first round. A lot of edges. I was just so deep. Trying to think of anyone else that's significant that fell out of the first round.
Did you have Loveland drafted?
Yep, Loveland was drafted.
To the Rams?
Yep, to the Rams. So it's no one really like significant, but yeah, it's a couple guys I had fallen. Probably the chat, if they notice anything, they can point it out. But yeah, the Shamar Stewart just seems like an Eagles pick, does it not? I don't know. If he's there.
Yeah, if he's there, I just don't think he's going to be at 32. I think Michael goes. Jahdae Barron, I think, goes earlier. Those are like the last four, I think, go, or the three of the last four, I think, go earlier.
No, pick it apart.
I think Tyler Warren goes top 10. I do. I don't think T-Mac would be a good pick going 8th overall. I think the Panthers, you could trade back and get a receiver if you wanted to. I don't hate Gentry at 5.
I see. This is where I kind of like Klotz. I'm just gonna push back, disagree. Like I think some of these guys can fall. Like I think for you maybe personally, but I do think there's like some of these guys are gonna end up falling. I do think like a Jahdae Barron, a Shamar Stewart, even like a Michael. Like I think Michael could go top 10, or he could go all the way back into the 20s. Like I do think that's realistic. I think he's one of those guys. I think it's the same thing with like a Tyler Warren. Like if a Tyler Warren doesn't go 7th or 10, he's probably fallen to the Colts. That's where I think there's a lot of these guys who it's like if they don't get picked at a specific 1-2, they're gonna fall a little bit just based off of.
Yeah, I guess for Tyler Warren, it would be like if he doesn't go to the Jets or the Panthers, he falls to the Colts. In my opinion.
Or the Bears. The Bears. I've seen the Bear. Like you guys go at me for having you guys. Well, you guys go at me for the Bears picking Tyler Warren. I've seen 3 or 4 national mock drafts go Tyler Warren to the Bears. I've looked at beat writers in Chicago.
No,
I'm like, why are people saying I'm wrong for?
No, you're not wrong. I just disagree with the Bears.
Again, that's personal. But like when we're doing these, we're looking at, hey, what do teams want to do?
100%. Yeah.
What are meetings? What are those? And I think there's a realistic chance that does happen. I don't think it is. I think to your point, or to my point with all of this, like if Shedeur doesn't go number 3 to the Giants, I don't think he goes until outside the top 20.
Yeah. So that could happen. I'm not, again, Tyler Warren could go to the Bears. I'm not saying very well in play. There's teams right there, top 14. There's a couple teams that could take him. It's just, again, I'm just weighing my personal opinion. Wouldn't do it, but Bears probably would do it, considering Ben just played with or coached with Sam Laporta. I just think people are sleeping a little bit on Cole Kmet, but maybe they don't even care because they didn't draft him. So that's probably fair too. But yeah, this is my full first round. I know trades, like I said. The boys will have trades, but there you have it.
Who's
next?
All right. Come on now. Not terrible, Hefe. Not terrible. Shedeur ain't going 3rd overall either.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
Go down that rabbit hole.
All right. We'll see
Wonder who's
tomorrow.
up next, Boone.
You want to go next, Klotzy?
I don't care who goes next.
Boone, you
I'll
want to go
go.
last?
I'll go. Yeah.
Go, yeah.
Boone likes going last. I know Boone. He likes
Doesn't
going.
matter.
Come on now. Come
All
on
right.
now, boys.
All right, Klotzy.
Trades are in mine, and I'm gonna try to not run out of breath after pick 5 here, fellas. Okay, so number 1, easiest pick, Cam Ward. Travis Hunter, number 2. I don't think there should be any mismatch, any confusion with these top 3 picks, and I think this is how it plays out. Cam Ward, Travis Hunter, Abdul Carter, and then if that's the case, and you're the Patriots, you take Will Campbell. You protect Drake May. The franchise is banking on Drake May's development, and it is going to take a big step if you take Will Campbell or an offensive lineman there. I think it's Will Campbell in this case. And if you avoid it here in the first round, I think could potentially take a big step back. But Will Campbell at 4. Jeff, I know you took Ashton Gentry. There's been those rumors there. I don't hate it. But I just think when you look at how bad the Jaguars were against the run, there is a huge hole in the center of that defense. And Mason Graham's BPA, I know that they just brought in Liam Cohen. He's an offensive mind. But it's glaring like this is the correct move to make. So I don't have Gentry going 5. I have him going 6 to the Raiders, which I think is probably the most mocked pick as of the last couple of days up until like 24 hours ago. So I got Gentry to the Raiders, Pete Carroll, Marshawn Lynch. In college, you had Reggie Bush. Dude loves running back play. Goes and gets them. And then I have Ryan Poles in the Bears. Ryan Poles talked about moving up. I think Ryan Poles is one of those guys that has somebody on his mind that I think he's just going to make sure he walks out of the draft with. Been a lot of noise about Jalen Walker going 8 to the Panthers. I think that when you look at Ryan Poles, you look at this defense. Again, I know they have Ben Johnson, but that offense, skill player-wise, very good. Offensive line, they invested into it heavily. And I think when you look at the board right now, the Bears, they've met with Jalen Walker. They could use an absolute specimen off that edge because Montez Sweat's very good. He's getting older, not getting very good at getting to the quarterback at that high rate like he was in Washington. Again, he still can, but he had under 7 sacks this year. You look at Javon Dexter. He's very good on the inside. You pair Javon Dexter and Jalen Walker going forward, that's going to be very good for them. And then at 8, I have Walter Nolan. Could be a little rich for some, but if you look at Carolina's defense right now, again, kind of the same situation as like the Jaguars. They have some solid pieces on the edge, not anything to get excited about, but you look at that front 4, huge hole in the middle with that 3-4 defense. They have Derek Brown, obviously, but you pair Walter Nolan there, that's going to be really good. You got 2 Ole Miss defensive tackles to game wreck. They can stop the run a little bit better. It helps Bryce Young get a better defense. You can go get weapons in the second round. This is the pick at number 9. I had Shedeur Sanders going here last time, but then I was looking like Mickey Loomis. He's a very good GM. I think we'd all agree. Elite GM, Mickey Loomis. Maybe not top 5, but very good GM. So he's going to have a philosophy, and he's probably going to stick to it. Boys, the New Orleans Saints have not drafted a quarterback in the first round since 2002. When you think of the New Orleans Saints, you think of Drew Brees. They traded for Drew Brees. In the first round, Mickey Loomis does not take quarterbacks. So I definitely do not think he's going to do it this year in the top 10. I think they get Tyler Warren. They love Tyler Warren. They just need the best player available. I think they have huge holes on defense, huge holes on offense. This is somebody that can add to the offensive line that they're building blocking-wise, but they're going to get a quarterback in there soon. They might trade for another one, but you look, they like to get veteran guys. Tyler Warren, that's going to be somebody that you can plug and play for the next 5 to 10 years, and he's going to be quarterback friendly to whoever's there. Then at 10, the Jets move with the Bears. Tyler Warren just goes. They take Membu, very good offensive tackle. I think that's very good for the Jets. They could have got him at 7. 11, I have Will Johnson. I just preached on Will Johnson earlier, fellas. I think he's an insanely good cornerback. When you look at the 49ers, they got Ambry Thomas in the cornerback room, which is nice, but they just lost Ward. They just lost Ufunga. That secondary needs help. Will Johnson goes with the Niners. 12, I got Shamar Stewart. I think Shamar Stewart is very much in play at 12. Like I said, I think Shamar Stewart goes early in this draft. I think the GM likes him. They take him. We talked to Eberflus at the Combine. He was very high. He was, before the narrative even came out, was saying, hey, Shamar Stewart, Daniil Hunter. So I think there's definitely a possibility Shamar Stewart goes 12th overall. Kelvin Banks, 13th. 14, I have Gray Zabel. They just lost so much to their offensive line in the offseason. Will Fries, Freeze, they lost him in Minnesota. You want quarterback play to be good with Anthony Richardson, you got to protect him because it's been bad and he's at a solid offensive line. Gray Zabel, he went out of the first round of my previous mock draft. That's just the way the board fell, though. When you look at it right now, I had Will Johnson going there before. Gray Zabel adds to the interior of the offensive line in Indianapolis. Give a little scroll up, Hefe. All right. 15, Michael Williams, Georgia Bulldog, stays in Georgia. Raheem Morris, if he's sitting there, Michael's there, that's a home run for Atlanta. They haven't had a true edge rusher in years. James Pierce goes 16 to Jonathan Gannon. Get a true edge rusher that can disrupt it. You pair him with Darius Robinson going forward. Mike Green, the Cincinnati Bengals. I think he's just the best defensive player available at this point. Cincinnati needs defense. Jahad Campbell sitting there in the wings for Mike McDonald in his 3-4 scheme. I think you can plug and play him. They have a good defensive line. Their linebacking core is very mid. You add Jahad Campbell in there between him, Devon Witherspoon. They got Kobe Bryant, who's been playing really good. They got a good young defense going forward. Jahdae Barron. I'm very high on Jahdae Barron. I don't think he falls in this draft very far. I think he can go early to the middle of the draft, 19th overall to the Buccaneers. I've been very consistent with that. And then just like my most wanted list, just like in my mock draft yesterday, the Lions move up with the Denver Broncos and they steal Kenneth Grant from the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think the Pittsburgh Steelers, if Kenneth Grant is sitting there on the board, you can lock that pick in. They love Kenneth Grant, even if they have somebody like Shadur Sanders there. If Kenneth Grant or Shadur Sanders is there from reports and what I'm seeing, it's going to be Kenneth Grant. So they steal him. And now that their guy's off the board, I know I didn't have him going to the Pittsburgh Steelers last time. But I think Shadur Sanders, he's going to go to the Pittsburgh Steelers. I don't think he falls much farther than this. And honestly, if you're the Pittsburgh Steelers, yes, you want Aaron Rodgers, but you also want a future. You have weapons there with DK Metcalf, George Pickens. They could go on the defensive side. I don't hate Malachi Starks, but I think Shadur Sanders here, if you're the Steelers, you got to pull the trigger. You can't let Aaron Rodgers run your organization like he did in New York. Shadur Sanders, you put him to Pittsburgh. 22, I love this pick right here, boys. Jim Harbaugh gets a Mecca Buka to pair with Lad McConkey. Justin Herbert gets a weapon that he has seen firsthand cook his Michigan defense. Going to be one of the better wide receivers in this draft. He's the first wide receiver taken in my draft right here. Would not be shocked at all if that's the case come draft tomorrow. Right back-to-back wide receivers. The Green Bay Packers, they need cornerbacks. Or they need wide receivers. They need cornerbacks. But you look at Tedero McMillan, you look at Trey Amos, who I had last time. I didn't have T-Mac falling this far. If he's on the board and you're the Green Bay Packers, you go and get T-Mac. Number 24, Minnesota Vikings are sitting here. The Minnesota Vikings only have 4 picks in this draft. Or the New York Giants, they're sitting there at the very top of the second round. They move up. They got Abdul Carter at the number 3, and then you go up and you get Jackson Dart. That's their quarterback that's going to save Dable's job for the year, potentially permanently if they're able to figure it out there with Jackson Dart. But I think the Giants do move up to get a quarterback, and I think it would be Jackson Dart if he's available. Texans, I've been consistent with this one. CJ Stroud, Josh Simmons, Buckeye. I think he's going to be the best pure tackle in this draft when it's all said and done. And then Tennessee Titans. They're seeing Luther Burden fall, and if you look at the Tennessee Titans, they have met with Luther Burden repeatedly. They love Luther Burden. You look at Calvin Ridley, you look at Luther Burden, very similar, but you can put them on the field at the same time, and at the end of the day, Calvin Ridley's getting up there in age. So you give Cam Ward and Luther Burden that first round, fellas, they have so much draft capital too. Like if you look at how many picks the Tennessee Titans have, they can move up. They can give up a ton of picks and still walk off with a haul in this draft. So I have Luther Burden going to the Tennessee Titans. They traded with the Rams. I'm sorry, ETN, but it had to happen. Donovan Izaraku, 27th overall, the Ravens. We talked about that earlier. Give a little scroll here. The Denver Broncos. They land Matthew Golden. Matthew Golden sitting there at 28. You could say Amarion Hampton, sure, but I think if you look at Matthew Golden, Amarion Hampton, you can get a running back in the second round, and I don't think he's going to be Amarion Hampton, but you still have a really good wide receiver core with Courtland Sutton and Matthew Golden. It's a perfect pairing. Scroll back up half day. We'll figure this last 4 picks out. And we got, there he is, Amarion Hampton. I've been pretty vocal on this with Dan Quinn. I think he is going to take a running back in the first round. When he made the Super Bowl with Atlanta, Tevin Coleman, Devontae Freeman, he does that again with Brian Robinson and Amarion Hampton. Malachi Starks, Bills need help in the secondary, Malachi Starks. Josh Connolly, I think the best pure tackle available. You add him to protect Patrick Mahomes of the future. And then Colson Loveland sitting on the board. There's a lot of noise that Dallas Goedert could be moved. Not in the first night of the draft, but at some point during the draft, he could be moved. That's telling me, hey, Dallas Goedert at some point is probably leaving Philly. They add Colson Loveland with the last pick in the draft. So that's my mock, boys. Final mock heading into the draft.
I like the active first round here with trades because I
think there's moves.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't be shocked. Like your Titans pick trading back into the first round. Like I can see the Titans being because who do they got at wide receiver besides Calvin Ridley?
Yeah,
I mean I can see this happening. Like Jackson Dart, them going back and getting Jay Dart, and you got Shadur Sanders. Yeah, and which again I'm not going to hate the Pittsburgh take. I think that's probably the next landing spot. But yeah, a lot of these picks I can see happening. Like Will Johnson at 11, Klotz, I think that's in play. I don't think that's. I think
I think he's one of the. I think there's a handful of guys who could go really early or really late. And there's going to be guys banking, you see it all the time, like guys that are just sitting there banking, like, this team needs to pick me, or those agents call up and they're like, hey, if it's not this team, I don't know when you're going next. Like, I think there's going to be a point with some of these guys. I don't know if will be that guy, but
yeah,
I think
if the
there's a
Eagles are
chance.
trading Goddard, why not replace him with Colson Loveland?
Yeah.
That'd be pretty scary. I mean,
I will say too, and this is, I don't think there is. I think there's a 99.5% chance that Colston Loveland doesn't fall outside the top 20. Like, there's no way Colston Loveland, from everything that I've seen, read, listened to, is like Colston Loveland's almost from like these guys like the Peter Schragers of the world, and these like that he's almost a lock to go in the top 15. And there's going to be teams that are going to be like trying to move up to get a guy like Colston Loveland. So I've seen, I don't know if you guys look at like the player rankings in the draft. They have like Tyler Warren at like, most of these guys have like Tyler Warren at like 5 or 6, and then Colston's at like 7, 8. So he's like a top 10 player in this draft class, essentially. Yeah. So
like,
I just don't see it.
Good receiver. I just think I look at him and I see Dalton Kincaid, and I think the thing that held Kincaid back is his inability to block. Loveland falls in that conversation, so that's why. Again,
yeah, but like,
I'm not saying it can't happen. I struggle to see him going top 20.
What's his name?
Tyler Warren lights out.
What's his name with the Raiders last year? Like, he's kind of like a Brock Bowers. He's like a wide receiver.
But he's not a liability blocking like Colston Loveland.
No, but I don't think when you're looking at a guy, especially a Colston Loveland, to where you're like, hey, he could play tight end and you can line him up anywhere you want as a wide receiver. That's more like, you're like, hey, that's a weapon right there. Like that's very, very, like, I just don't see a world where a team looks at it and be like, yeah, if we need a weapon, he's not going to fall outside the top 15 out with all these weapons. But I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah,
like, you have a wide receiver starting at 22 and Emeka Egbuka being your first wide receiver.
Yeah.
I don't think that'll happen either.
Yeah, the Cowboys taking Shamar Stewart.
Yeah.
Jerry Jones,
Yeah, I just think Shamar Stewart goes top 15, I believe. I don't think he falls.
And you said you had that in your last draft. I think you had who'd you have the Colts taking him or something?
No, I had the Bears taking him 10th.
That's what it was. So you think he goes high?
Yeah.
All right, Boone. Talk to me. This is your final one. Final mock. We're locking them in. Boone, talk to me about your final first round mock. What do we got here?
All right, pull it up for me, please.
I
did mine, boys. I'll state it now. I was telling you, Jeff, I did mine based off of and I've been going over situations over the last couple of weeks. Based off of rumors, based off of team meetings. I go and look at all the team meetings. I go look at what players, relationships. I do mine based off of strictly not what I want to happen or I think will happen, but more so like, hey, this is where I think teams are going to do based off of the rumors and everything. Obviously, I don't know if you guys have heard it in the first couple rounds or the first 4 picks. The Browns and Giants are like taking trade requests. So this could get messed up, boys, tomorrow within the first 15 minutes. So like right away, our whole thing could be completely messed up. But I went Cam Ward, Travis Hunter, Abdul Carter, Will Campbell. It sounds like Cam Ward obviously is good. Travis Hunter locked to go to the Browns if they don't trade it. Jeff, I'll say this with the Giants thing. The Joe Sheen and the Brian Dable thing.
Mm-hmm.
There's not a world I think a GM would think that they have Brian Dable, an offensive-minded coach, a guru, and be like, we're going to get you the guy you don't want. You don't want Shedeur Sanders? You know what? Hey, Klotz, you don't want Shedeur Sanders? You're my quarterback guru? I'm getting you him, even though you don't like him and you don't want him. You don't think he's a good quarterback.
Maybe Tyler Shuck.
Yeah, so like I don't think there's a world where that would happen. I think they would just go Abdul Carter. The Patriots, I've listened again, and I'm going to say this a million times through my mock draft. I've listened to a million shows, a million guys that do mock drafts, the Mel Kipers, Todd McShays, the Pete Schragers, everyone. Will Campbell's a lock at number 4. I don't think they're going to move unless they trade back and still get Will Campbell. The Will Campbell's going to be a Patriot come Friday or come Thursday night. This is the one, Jeff, me and you were spot on and lockstep with, the Ashton Gentry thing. Supposedly, and I heard Todd McShay say this morning when I was driving into work, Mason Graham will not be a Jaguar, and they are out on Mason Graham. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's true. It could happen tomorrow. Ends up being it. They want to get a weapon for Who's the new coach there? Liam Cohen.
Liam
Want
Cohen.
Liam. And originally, I tweeted this out today. Originally, what I did, and I'll tell the people this, I had originally traded up because there's all these there's talks of teams wanting to trade in to get guys like Ashton Gentry, T-Mac, Mason Graham. I originally had, Jeff, I had the Chicago Bears trading into 5, and I had the Chicago Bears taking Ashton Gentry at 5, and I had T-Mac going at number 10 to the Bears or to the Jags. And I was like, that kind of makes sense. I ended up refreshing it and being like, all right, let's just restart this whole thing. Let's just go Ashton Gentry at number 5 to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Number 6, I went Mason Graham. This one again, Jeff, did you take Mason Graham at 6?
I did.
Yeah, I read up a little bit on this. The GM there is a Michigan man, Tom Brady, Michigan man. He actually met with the defensive coordinator there for like a couple hours over a virtual meeting. And you know who showed up to the meeting? I read this today. Max Crosby, and showed up and met with Mason Graham. So it seems like it's like a serious thing to where they don't want to go. I don't think they're going to end up going Ashton Gentry. I think they'll, even if Ashton Gentry's on the board, I wouldn't be shocked if the Raiders go like a Mason Graham if he's there, or like an offensive tackle at some point. Membu I already had at 7 with the Jets. Jalen Walker, we know, with the Panthers. Kelvin Banks, boys, Klotz, I know you went Tyler Warren. Jeff, you went quarterback. Everything, again, I heard today, things are starting to kind of come into place. Saints aren't going to take a quarterback. And if they don't take a quarterback, it sounds like they're going to take a guy. And this is where I said with Mike Hell for the Lions, a guy like Jalen Walker, Mike Hell, a defensive edge rusher, or an offensive tackle, because they need it. It's like a fresh start there in New Orleans. And typically, boys, what do you see when there's a fresh start? Get offensive line. Yep. You build up your offensive line. At 10, Tyler Warren. Jeff, can you scroll down? Or, yeah, please scroll down. Tyler Warren at 10. We already talked about that the other day. We talked about Walter Nolan the other day to the San Francisco 49ers. The Cowboys, this is something that I've seen a lot, is the Cowboys are like, is it hell-bent? Is that the saying?
Yes.
Hell-bent on taking a weapon, whether it's a running back or a wide receiver, that they're locked in, it sounds like, and they want, Jerry Jones wants an offensive weapon to go with CeeDee Lamb and Dak. So whether it's a tight end and Tyler Warren, I know they have Jake Ferguson. I think they end up just rolling with T-Mac. And Jeff, who did you have them taking? Luther Burden?
Yep.
I think that's fine too. I just think some type of wide receiver or a running back, I think the Dallas Cowboys go. 13, I had this last time, Josh Simmons. Actually, I didn't have Josh Simmons. I had Kelvin Banks to the Dolphins. Klotzy, here you go. Josh Simmons, 13th overall in my mock draft to the Miami Dolphins. I think they need an offensive tackle. And then Colston Loveland, boys. This is where I said there's no chance Colston Loveland falls out of the top 15. If the Colts don't want him, there's going to be teams that are trading up and kind of looking for him. Jeff, can you scroll up, please?
Mm-hmm.
All right, I got 15. I got Mike Green. I think we have all had that there. Oh, no, actually, Klaus, who did you have at 15? Who was it?
I had James Pierce because I've been reading, like Todd McShay said they love James Pierce.
Okay.
They've met with him multiple times.
That's fair, actually. And what's crazy is I don't have James Pierce in my first round at all.
Oh.
I have James Pierce falling out of the first round. I have James Pierce falling out of the first round. But I like Mike Green. I actually, last week, if you looked at my 1.0, I actually had James Pierce going to the Atlanta Falcons. Shout out, Jeff. 16, I have Jahdae Barron. I think they're going to go a corner. I was telling Jeff this morning. I was like, it's either going to be Jahdae or Will Johnson. I don't know. It depends on, I guess, how the GM and the coach and the defensive coordinator, what type of corner do they prefer. I felt like it was Jahdae Barron. I read a couple things at the meetings went very well with him in the Cardinals, and they really love him. So I went Jahdae Barron. 17, Kenneth Grant, get some interior defensive help there. Boys, I did a trade. Ding, 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 trade. Houston Texans trade up. They need an offensive lineman. And if you notice one thing about my draft, and I think it happens tomorrow and no one's talking about it, I think you're going to see a run on tackles in the first 15 picks in offensive linemen. The Kelvin Banks, Josh Simmons. I think guys are desperate for offensive linemen, and even though if they're not great, that's the valuable picks. And I think the Texans are going to get a little nervous, and they're going to see all the Gray Zable's the only one left that has maybe some sort of value. And they're going to trade up and go get Gray Zabel. Jahad Campbell at 19. We all have had that a couple times. Detroit Lions trading up for number 20, Michael Williams. I've talked about that a million times already. I think whether it's Michael, Mike Green, whatever edge rusher it is, I think they move up and they get an edge rusher. This is another one. Klotzy, can I get the Trade noise. Jeff Iafrate. Mike Tomlin says, give me more picks. Steelers don't have 1 million picks. I think the Steelers trade out, boys, of the first round. And they say, we'll go get some. They need defensive line help, and they can keep building more and get more pieces and more depth. I think they trade out of the first round with the Bears or the Browns. I wouldn't even be shocked if they trade back with the Giants or the Saints trade back into this pick. But I think the Steelers are out. I think they trade up and to get Shedeur Sanders at the 21st overall pick. I went wide receiver at 22 to the Chargers, Matthew Golden. Shamar Stewart, Klotzy, your top 12 guy. I took him with the Green Bay Packers at number 23. They could use more defensive line help. Got that. 24, Malachi Starks to help out that safety room, kind of an older safety room right now. So that'll be a very, very good pick for them. They're kind of scary in the NFC North. Tyler Booker to 25. Oh, that's another trade. That's the trade back. Seahawks trade back, still get a guard in Tyler Booker. Very good guard. We talked about him going to the Lions potentially at 28. 26. This is where, boys, the Will Johnson fall happened. I could have gone Will Johnson with the Rams.
Damn.
So what's more important, corner or protecting Matthew Stafford this year to get the ball to Devontae Adams and your targets? I think it's protecting Matthew Stafford. I went Josh Connerly at 26 overall. 27th overall, I went Donovan Ezeraku to the Ravens. Broncos, Emeka Ibuka, they trade back and still get their weapon. Slide up real quick, Jeff Iafrate. 29, Klotzy, I didn't even see your mock, and we're lockstep with it. Omarion Hampton to the Washington Commanders. I love that. I think it makes sense. They've met with him 1 million times. Everything kind of leans towards them going running back and getting a weapon in the first round. 30 overall. This is where, if anyone wants to hate on me for this one, this is just Will Johnson somehow fell in my draft. And the Bills need any type of corner. Slot, outside, they can just get any type of secondary help. And Will Johnson would be a perfect fit in Buffalo. 31, trade, Klotzy. Jackson Dart, New York Giants. Trade in. Jeff, they don't get Shedeur Sanders. Brian Dable. I've talked about this for weeks now, and I brought it up to you. Guys like Brian Dable, Kellen Moore, love those big body guys like the Jalen Hurts that can run, they can run someone over. The Josh Allen type players. Jackson Dart is more of a player like that than Shedeur Sanders is. I think Brian Dable is going to like Jackson Dart. Everything that I'm seeing and listening to is that Brian Dable does love Jackson Dart over Shedeur. And I don't think they'll take Jackson Dart at 3. I think that would be crazy when they could kind of wait and they could trade back into the first and get him. And then at 32 overall, I think with the corner, I think Trey Amos, or you can even say Maxwell Harrison, just any corner at 32 to the Philadelphia Eagles. They can use some more help there with guys like Darius Slay and Avonte Maddox. So that's my top 32, boys. Now break it down. Cook me a little bit.
No, I like it. I mean, I get the vision. I get like a lot of some of these trade ups. I understand the vision for it. So there's not like there's picks. It's not even cooking you. It's just if teams were to do this, I would be like, okay. But most of these picks are, I can see the vision, Boone. Like, I'm not going to look at you and say like, this doesn't make any sense at all. I can see the vision for all these guys, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I've kind of said my part about the Will Johnson thing.
Yeah, even
I'm trying to. I'm happy you gave Jahdae Barron some love. You had a little low last time for my liking. I'm happy you moved him up. Kind of said our piece about Colson Loveland.
Yeah, I guess the only one I would say,
like,
I'm not even just saying this because I could care less what the Rams do, but man, if the Rams are in that position, you got to take Will Johnson.
Yeah, I guess it just depends.
That'd be the only one I would be like.
If I'm being honest, I don't even think the Rams end up picking in the first round.
Yeah,
Sounds like
trading out.
Yeah, it sounds like that they're just going to trade out and just add assets. I think they could trade out and they could get a guy like I don't know. Can you move up? Who did I have to the Chiefs? Can't remember.
The Chiefs. Wait, the Chiefs aren't. They're not picking the first round.
Oh, I didn't have the Chiefs.
Traded them with Jackson.
Yeah, I guess so.
I mean, and James Pierce. I mean, if we have a problem, that's James Pierce not going in the first round.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's so many edges, but like if you had to pick one edge to somehow fall out of the first round, who would it be?
Shamar Stewart. Like, I know he said he goes high, but if like the GMs
I mean,
don't see that,
you can't say that, Klotz,
Boone, I'm
'cause you have
saying
him
like
going
I can be
12.
wrong though. Boone, like I can be wrong. Like if I'm saying like I think there's more likelihood that Shamar Stewart will fall out of the first than James Pierce, in my opinion. Like James Pierce,
I
it's
disagree
a
completely.
character issue. Shamar
That's
Stewart,
where I think it falls. Like Shamar, it's like the man. He's got all the upside in the world. He's got first round talent, so he's
James
not.
Pierce,
Shamar's
though.
not falling out.
Yeah, that's the only thing I guess we would disagree is like James Pierce talent, like production wise. But I'm not. It's not even about Shamar. It's just about him being in the first, I guess. But like again, I can see the vision for a lot of these picks. Like I don't even. It's just the fact that James Pierce isn't in it, and I'm like, oh, that's okay.
I don't know where I would slot him in. I the way it all worked out, the way the board fell, Jeff Iafrate. I don't know.
No, yeah, I get it. You had trade up scenarios, so that changes. You had two quarterbacks, teams trading or not two quarterbacks, a quarterback the Giants traded up for.
Yeah.
So like I get it. You had your vision here. The Browns trading back, into the first round. So both those teams have 2 picks. They're not taking, James Pierce. It's just how it falls, I guess. But yeah, no, I thought again, I think all of our drafts there's a vision. Like I don't hate it. I think we all different flavors, which I think are important. But we got about 9 minutes left, boys, and I know the people are commenting and responding to some of our drafts. But Benji says Shamar simply based on production and game film. Scorton, James Pierce based off the attitude ish. Yeah, Scorton. I think there's a chance he actually falls.
I don't. Again, I've been consistent. I don't think Nick Scorton's a first round guy.
Yeah,
I know I've been saying like repeatedly, I think Shamar goes top 15, but if he doesn't, then I'm wrong. I think there's a very if you're asking me between James Pierce and Shamar Stewart, who falls out of the first, I would go Shamar Stewart.
Well, is there any? I mean, I guess any besides that? I mean, I'll say with the player dropping that I have consistently dropping, and it's not a knock on the player. I think it's how the board kind of falls. I had Jalen Walker going in the teens both drafts, so that would be kind of.
Did you have him this one?
17.
I don't think there's a world Jalen Walker falls out the top 10. I didn't even notice you had that. I think there's like a 0. There's not a world.
Hey, let's not do zero.
If he makes it, I'll tell you what. If the Panthers don't take him, the Saints are taking him. I'll almost say he's not falling past 8.
Okay.
I don't think he goes in the teens. That's crazy. I did not notice that. I did not.
Yeah, he's been consistent with it though.
Which is consistent, but you're just being
point.
consistently wrong.
That
was kind of a bar.
Yeah, it's just my opinion. I like Jalen Walker. He's just like he's a specimen. I don't know. It's just that's a player for me that I would see falling like a little lower than where people have him slotted. But besides that, I have a lot of guys that are going pretty high.
The Shador thing really just baffles me.
He's staying.
Can't wrap my head around it. He might go 3.
No, but here's the thing. No. Don't end it with, well, he might go 3. Because
there's obviously a chance he goes 3. Do I think he will? Nope.
Okay, we agree. Hey, if you say there's a chance, we'll leave it there. That's all I need.
Imagine tomorrow we're just sitting there and like how upset and you could be honest because I know how upset you'd be because you've picked him at 3rd overall every single draft. How upset would you be if we get done with Thursday and we go into Friday, Shador's still on the board?
I'm not upset. I'm just like, okay, some team's going to get Shador in the 2nd, and they're going to get a good quarterback. Like, I don't know. It's not as much of me being like, I don't, it's not about being, no, it's not. Like, I'm not going to sit here and get mad. My take has always
I'm not saying mad, a little bit like, oh man, this kind of sucks because you're a Shador fan and all right.
Yeah, he's a good quarterback.
I have a great confidence.
Wherever he goes.
Klotz will agree with me 100% on this. Do you remember 2 years ago when I was dying on the hill of Will Levis and I was telling everyone Will Levis is the next big thing, similar to what you've been doing for Shador Sanders?
Different players.
Jeff.
I'm not talking about players type. I'm talking about personally, like the hype. Like you have been like all over the whole Shador Sanders thing, messing with us, like boys. sending us tweets and texts like boys, and you have died on the Shedeur Sanders hill, which is fair. I died on the Will Levis hill. I went into the draft guaranteeing he was top 5, and I kept in all my mock drafts. I kept going Will Levis number 3, number 4 overall. I left that draft on that Thursday night like I just died on the biggest hill of Will Levis, and it was like I love this kid so much. I thought he was going to be so good, and I'm going into
in the green room.
I'm going into Friday, and that man is still on the board, and I'm like, what? Like, I was so shocked. So, like, it's not a bad thing, Jeff. I think it's just because I've been through that with Will Levis, to where it's like he was literally like minus 500 to go in the top 5. Like, it was like sportsbooks had him like it was a lock to go top 5, and he was there on Friday when we pulled up on Friday night, and it was one of those moments where I looked like, welcome to the NFL draft, brother. That's tough. The boys gave me a little bit of a pushback on it, which
yeah, I don't mind the pushback. My take for Shedeur is I think he'll be a good quarterback. I like Shedeur a lot, and I have
same with Will Levis. That was my take.
Anyway, I think he goes top 3. I think he goes top 3, but if he doesn't change my opinion on Shedeur the player. You know what I mean? So it's like I was wrong. I'll say I was wrong. I thought he'd go top 3, but I still really like Shedeur, and so does my guy Joe Klatt. So me and him are in a bunker.
I just think again.
He said Shedeur is his number 1 quarterback.
If we got into Thursday night,
bias.
and the 32nd pick goes in, and the Eagles select like Trey Amos, and Shedeur isn't off the board, all eyes turn to you, and it's just a fact, and you got to deal with. I had to deal with it with Malik or with
no,
Will
it's
Levis,
it's definitely a possibility,
and it was one of those moments
I'm
where
not
I
saying
could tell. Like, yeah, this is I mean, dude, I was like asking people for Will Levis rookie cards. I mean, before the draft.
This kid's something.
I'll take.
I thought he was.
Card. I want the rookie card of Shedeur with the watch up. That's what I want.
See, you're doing what I did. I love this out of you.
And it'll be the value of an Andy Dalton rookie card. Imagine that. Just has more
Shut
aura.
up, Nazi. Damn it! It's you and Andy Dalton. Jesse, mailbag guys, gun to your head. If both are still there at 28, Harmon or Zabel, who'd you take?
I would probably go Gray Zabel. Personally, yeah. I like Derek Harmon, but
more likely to happen. Jeff turning into Jackson. I don't even know. I don't think you even finished that thought, Jesse. I don't know what you were. I think you just stopped after that. But the first one, yeah. Who if both were there? Probably Zabel. Zabel. But if they took Derek Harmon,
again, he was in my honorable mention.
Strap in, boy. It's gonna be. You're getting a good player now. Yeah. But Gray Zabel, he's just a lion, dude. He just fits everything they're looking
Looks
for.
the part.
Yeah, he does. He looks the part, man. He does. Malik says, I will show y'all the 2026 quarterbacks, and y'all will forget about Shedeur faster than I can say the letter I. Cade Klubnik.
I mean, they're just your boy Drew Aller. That's who you can hype
Drew
up
Aller.
next year,
Oh my gosh, man!
We thought the Shedeur Sanders.
You thought it was over? We're running it back.
I can't do quarterbacks with this guy, man.
Yeah, I do. I do like Drew Aller. I do.
I'm gonna try and stay consistent with. This is a thing too. I was actually thinking about this on my drive in today because of the whole quarterback class thing. And I was like, well, last year, like I was so big on Jaden Daniels. Like there was 4 or 5 quarterbacks where you could be like, you know what I mean? In the first round, how many quarterbacks were off the board? Like 5 or 6?
Yeah.
So like you could take a stamp on a quarterback because there was a handful. I took a stamp on Jaden Daniels. I said, that's my guy in this class. I love him. Worked out. And then this year I'm like, all right, typically like as an analyst or you're talking, we're on air all the time, like having takes. I'm like, you got to have a stamp on a quarterback, right? Like you have to. I was driving and I'm like, I'm not doing that. I'm not putting my reputation on the line after going 1 for 1 with Jane Daniels, or I guess 1 for 2 with Will Levis. But after hitting on Jane Daniels last year, I watched a lot of college football. You boys know that. Cam Ward's good. Jane Daniels would go 1-1 a million times over Cam Ward every year.
Yeah.
Every year. And like Cam Ward probably goes like I don't know. You could even argue with him with Michael Penix last year. Like, does Michael Penix go before Cam Ward? That's a legit argument. So, see, you thought about it though, Klotz. Like, you weren't like, no. Like, you're like, like you think about it. So, like, I'm like, this year, I was driving into work this morning. I'm like, hands are back on you. Typically, every year, I would take a quarterback and say, that's my guy. I'm out this year. I'm out. I'm not missing, and I'm not hitting on one.
There is like a see, like both things can be true. Like, I think this quarterback class is down, but I think some takes I hear about this quarterback class does frustrate me a little bit. It's like, he would never go ahead of Bo Nix. Yeah, he would. Cam Ward would go ahead of Bo Nix, man. Like, did anyone not watch Cam Ward this year, dude? Like, the guy,
no,
he's not number. He wouldn't go above Caleb or Jaden Daniels, but like, dude, like,
I disagree. I think there would be a conversation. I don't think it would be just Cam Ward.
I think there would have been teams who loved him at like 10.
Yeah, people, the way people act is like he wouldn't even be a first round pick or like.
No,
like, okay.
He would be in the conversation, but he would have like you would have like there would have been I think 50-50. Some people would say Bo Nix because Bo Nix was winning in Oregon. Like, I think one of the biggest things with Cam and Klotz, you will agree with this too, I think, because you were talking about him all year. It's like, yeah, he put big numbers up here and there. The man, they really didn't win. Like, they would come back and win, but like they didn't even. There was a 12-team playoff. He didn't make the playoff.
Boom,
like,
that defense.
If you're a franchise quarterback, you have a 12-team playoff. You're telling me in the ACC, the worst Power 5 conference, you're gonna tell me that he should have made the playoffs, and that's going to be a franchise guy. I think there's an argument to say, hey, that's a pushback of Cam Ward.
Boone,
like
if they didn't have Cam Ward, they would have been a 7-win team. They would have been so
okay. So he makes them a 10, but they still makes the playoffs because down the stretch they didn't win those games. And there were a million games where I sat there. I remember we were at like a B-Dubs, we're at a different place, and we're sitting there watching Miami, and we're like, why are they down 20 points right now? And you're talking about the ACC.
We never said it was because of Cam Ward.
Not because of Cam Ward, but you're still sitting. Come on now. Like, we're not going to sit here and act like
we talk about
he's
it all
a good
the time.
Quarterback,
how it helps quarterbacks all the time going into tough situations. Like Jaden Daniels, he had to put up a lot of fucking points, but he had Brian Thomas and Malik Neighbors. Not taking that away from him. Name Xavier Strepo and who?
Listen, I'm not saying he's bad. What are we doing?
I just don't go.
I'm not arguing. Let's stop arguing.
No, you're not saying.
I'm just saying, like, hey, there's a pushback.
Like,
that's the pushback.
Yeah, and I mean,
that's not that crazy.
Yeah, I don't think
if people evaluate quarterbacks like that, then to each his own. If you say like, well, you didn't make the playoffs, I don't. If the dude's good, I'm taking him. You know what I mean?
And I think, and listen, the Titans are going to be fine with Cam Ward. Like, I think, like, if you had to take a quarterback this year, take Cam Ward, and like, you're going to be fine. Like, he's going to be better than Will Levis, like 100% better than Will Levis.
Yeah.
I just like if you look at last year, it's just like, hey, put that quarterback class down. You can argue Michael Penix over him. You could argue Bo Nix. Like, you can make those arguments. Bo Nix just basically took a team to the playoffs. Like, you can make those arguments. It's not a guarantee. I see what you're saying, Jeff. People just being like, not a first round.
Yeah, it's a little ridiculous.
That's crazy. He is still a very good quarterback.
He'd be in the conversation for the fourth quarterback taken. Like, which, like, again, is like, I get it. It's the fourth, but like, look at the fourth in that class. Like, Bo Nix is pretty good. Like, I think he'd be that. But that's where I'm at with it. It's like, come on, like, I get it's a bad quarterback class. I'm not saying it's like the greatest thing since sliced bread. But there you go. But what I'm saying is, like, you don't think some of these guys are going to pan out? Absolutely, they're going to pan out. Like, Cam Ward's going to pan out. Sugar, I think, will pan out. Jackson Dart, I think, has a good shot at panning out. Like, and we'll see after that. Jalen Monroe, I do not think is going to pan out, but that's just my opinion. All right, we'll get out of here. We'll be live tomorrow.
Kind of like Jalen
Draft
Monroe.
show.
Wait, tomorrow we're live in the morning too.
Correct? Yeah, and in the morning. Yep.
10 to 12 tomorrow. Make sure there's 240 people. We should have 240 people at 10 a.m. tomorrow in here. I think it's Jeff and I.
Yeah, pre-draft conversation, talking to the people.
A lot of chat stuff, probably just talking ball.
Yep, talking ball. Be there. Until then, appreciate you all. Much love.
Hit the like button
tomorrow. First round.
Love you guys.
Be there.
DraftKings tomorrow. Show up.
There you go.
Yeah, come on, Troy. Be there.